You're tuned to The Drive on your 24/7 home of the Black and Gold. Steelers Nation Radio.
Good afternoon, Steeler Nation, and welcome to a special edition of The Drive here in fabulous Phoenix, Arizona at the Biltmore for the 2026 NFL League meetings. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson on location here, cross-country on a special Sunday show. What's going on, Matt? I'm excited for these next couple days.
Yeah, you should be. It's a pretty cool event. It's much different than things like the Combine that we've done recently. We haven't been to Arizona there's 2 years in between. I don't know exactly why this happened, but usually the way it was explained to me way back when by Dale and company was they do one on the West Coast, Arizona, then they do one on the East Coast, Florida.
That's what I always thought,
and then
too,
they go back and forth, and for whatever reason, there have been the last two were in Miami, so we haven't been here for a while. But I think this was the first one I came to, so I'll be going to – this is my fourth or fifth in a row. And it's just a different vibe. I mean, again, it's not coaches and scouts and – a lot of draftniks or things like that. It's not as much hustle bustle. It's in a very nice location.
Oh my goodness,
obviously.
It is gorgeous
here,
man.
I mean, golf courses everywhere, and obviously a lot of money and things like that. And this is where
a lot of sunshine,
a lot of sunshine
good weather out here
yeah,
too.
That in the 90s already, right? But this is where a lot of big decisions are made. A lot of it behind the walls that we're not privy to the conversations, but we're hanging with, rubbing elbows with these folks. It's cool.
Yes, we are. It is. It's my first time here, which I'm excited for. As you mentioned, it's just kind of a different vibe from what we typically do. We will have some guests and everything. Today's kind of setup day, though. It's just us and the New York Jets in here right now.
If you could turn these cameras around, there's just a lot of people setting up everywhere. Like right in front of us is a ballroom that there's going to be all 16 NFC coaches will sit there and have a breakfast tomorrow. The day after, all 16 AFC coaches are in there. Right behind us is I think they set this up for like brunches and things like that behind us. But everybody's just kind of getting ready for the big stuff to happen.
Yes.
But I have seen a head coach already, and
Yes, we did. Mike Vrabel walked right past us.
Oh, really? I saw Dan Quinn.
Did you see Dan
ago,
Quinn? Yeah, Vrabel was walking past us just a few minutes ago. Today.
So they're staying in the building we're at.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Yeah, today kind of the setup day, the kind of first moving and shaking here around the Biltmore, and then tomorrow is when it really gets going. Tomorrow, as you mentioned, the NFC head coaches will speak. Mike McCarthy will speak to the Pittsburgh media tomorrow, and then do his national media stuff on Tuesday. Also, Omar Khan and Mr. Rooney speaking on Tuesday. So we will have
all the top people in every organization are pretty much available in some way, shape, or form, including the commissioner of the league.
And absolutely, Roger Goodell will speak here too, and Matt will have a fun dinner here tomorrow night. The owners' dinner, which I'm looking forward to. Brought my my finest duds for the big fancy dinner tomorrow night. So today is kind of a set the scene day, a little bit, if you will. And with
I would imagine some owners and GMs and coaches are still flying in today. We got in last night.
Yes, it's probably a mix of both.
I would think.
We had an outstanding Mexican meal last night as well, too. By the way,
a little bit of a long flight, and we were all starving. Hit the Mexican and margaritas pretty hard. That was great.
Had one of the best burritos I've had in a long time here in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. So Matt, we'll just kind of start with maybe a little 411, little primer here.
Okay.
Of all the moving and shaking, what to expect over the next couple days, the different topics that will be on the agenda, right? So this is all about voting on rules, bylaws, resolution proposals, all
There's
those
also
different things.
a lot of discussions behind the scenes, too, by the way, folks. That probably goes without saying, but it's not like in the Combine, you'll hear, I'm sure there's things like, can we sign this guy, or let's talk trades, or blah, blah, blah. I wonder what they're like here, but you will walk around here, and I don't think I'm revealing too much, but if you spend enough time on this property, you'll see two owners in the corner just kind of wonder what they're chatting about, or two GMs in the corner, and maybe because they were on a staff together 20 years ago and they're good buddies.
And they're talking about their wives and their kids and how's everyone doing.
There's tons of that, but it also might be like, thinking about trading Myles Garrett?
What are you hearing about A.J. Brown?
Right. I mean, there's all the people that make decisions are here.
Yes, and so it is a real kind of all the power players of the National Football League.
And we're just kind of a fly on the wall,
Exactly right. And so here's some of the different proposals, some of the different things that we could expect to be on the agenda this week. We discussed some of this last week, but I think it's just a good refresher here on this Sunday as we get started.
Bonus drive, by the way.
Bonus 3-hour edition of the drive here today, Monday, and Tuesday, 3 days.
And then we're traveling Wednesday.
And then we travel on Wednesday. Yep. The kicking team able to declare an onside kick at any time during the game. Of course, now, for those who are unfamiliar, you can only do that in the fourth quarter.
Right.
We all know, I think most people know by now that you have to declare the onside kick, but that's only allowed in the fourth quarter. I have to think, Matt, though, that they'll change this and you can declare an onside kick at any time during the game.
I remember when the original rule was passed about it, and then there was that caveat about only in the fourth quarter, and I think I was on with Dale, and we're like, why only in the fourth quarter? What if I want to do it to start the game?
Why not?
It might not be smart. I mean, the recovery rate isn't very good now because you have to tell people it's coming. There's no surprise onside to start the half in the Super Bowl, so to speak.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's the only thing I don't like about the new kickoff rule in general is there's just no way around it because you have to have a different formation if people haven't thought this through. So you have to at least declare that we're going to line up differently and thus kick an onside kick, and then everyone knows it's coming. But why do you have to wait to the fourth quarter? Like, I'll be shocked if that gets any resistance among. I mean, it seemed like just kind of they should have got it right the first time. Honestly, why even put that in there?
Agreed.
know,
Completely agree. So that's number one in terms of the playing rules proposals that will be on the agenda. Number two is eliminating kicking teams' incentive to intentionally kick the ball out of bounds when kicking off from the 50-yard line. So basically. Yeah. If there is
this was just a pure loophole.
This is a pure loophole.
Yeah.
We saw Danny Smith last year. If there's a penalty on the receiving team, and so you get to kick off from the 50-yard line, it just behooves you to boot that thing out of bounds because you're going to be surrendering less yardage.
Yeah.
Basically.
And no one's going to take it to the house on you, or there's no risk. You know exactly
right.
what you're getting, and I think that was just an overlooked loophole because we talked about this the other day. I vividly remember being here or at a owners meeting when all they could talk about is the dynamic kickoff, It
was a huge story 2 years ago.
Huge story. And it was up until all through the preseason and training camp. And are they going to have to spend half of their practice working on the dynamic kickoff? Of course, we're exaggerating. They didn't. But, I mean, how these teams going to handle it? Are they going to start, Danny had to watch all this different preseason tape of all the different teams, how they handled it. And in some ways, it ended up being kind of much ado about nothing in year one. It didn't change things drastically.
The scuttlebutt was much greater than the impact.
Yeah. And I got a kick out of it, too, because I remember being here, and they basically, I mean, I'm, again, exaggerating. They come out of these doors, and they're like, the dynamic kickoff passed. And then, 4 seconds later on my phone, it's like, the Steelers signed Cordero Patterson. He's like the best kickoff returner ever. I'm like, I bet that's not a coincidence, And it was fine, but year one, it was kind of much ado about nothing. I think you were right.
Last year, we saw more.
Last year, it really made a ton of impact, and the Steelers or the league do want more scoring, but we've talked about this a ton. Average starting field position went up drastically just last year, and by the way, the kickers are getting so much better. You're in field goal range after a first down or two.
You pick up 2 first downs, and if you've got the right kicker, you're absolutely already in field goal range.
Yeah, that's a lot different than it was 4 or 5 years ago.
It sure is. And then last one, so a lot of these proposals.
But they didn't catch this loophole. I kind of went off a tangent.
Correct.
There. Yeah, because it's so new. I mean,
Which
there's
makes
not
sense.
that many kickoffs that would even apply to this.
And you give these special teams coordinators the opportunity to figure something like that out, and they're going to.
It only takes one, and then the whole league knows.
Exactly right. And then it's on tape, then everyone knows and goes, oh, yeah, let's do that too.
Kick it out of bounds, right. And the Steelers did it. Boswell did it.
Absolutely,
right.
Yeah. And we were all like, that's a great call. It's a great decision.
I remember
the offense
even
5 yards extra back.
A couple people were like, oh, come on, Boz, what are you doing?
Yeah.
No, that was on purpose,
that was
guys.
smart.
Yeah.
Third one here, and this is the last one that affects directly the kickoffs. We all know that there are alignment requirements for the receiving team in terms of the setup zone. They want to modify some of the parameters around those alignments. I think that give teams more flexibility.
Yeah, and this is something I don't know the exact parameters of, but I think you're only allowed to align in one formation.
I believe you are correct.
Which, again, I mean, you can't tell the offense you have to align in 12 personnel
Which
with
is
these
weird
guys.
when you think about it. Where else do we do that? Yeah.
Right. I mean, special teams coaches need to be creative too. And
you have rules. Only this many guys have to be on the line of scrimmage. All those different things.
Yeah.
But you still have wiggle room and freedom within those confines.
So, example, if I bring it back to the Steelers, I mean, they always had basically Warren and Gainwell as their 2 deep guys. But I always thought that was goofy, and I even commented at the time, I'm like, if you do have Cordero Patterson in his prime, I want him back there alone with somebody
with an
else
extra blocker.
Right, exactly, because not to mention, every kicker's not going to kick it to Patterson. They're going to kick it to the other guy. And I'm sure you could be like, come get it anyway. But, but still, I don't want to put two guys back there because I paid this dude a ton to take every kickoff.
Exactly right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly right. Let's make it a strength.
Yeah. And,
So,
and I don't know what the other parameters are, the up guys and the middle guys, and I just don't know enough about the special teams of it all. But why not be as creative as possible?
it makes a ton of sense.
I mean, punt formations, you can be however you want. You can have a bunch of wide guys. You can have tight.
Exactly
can have,
right. Yeah, you could go for a punt block and
Right,
have as many
right,
people
right.
back covering. Yeah,
they're not saying you have to align this way.
So those are the three related to kickoff specifically, all proposed by the competition
They probably
committee.
all passed. Don't you think off the top of your head?
I would think off the top of my head, I guess so.
Maybe I'm missing a negative but they're just, it's year 3 of this or year 4 of this, and we found loopholes. Let's fix them.
I think that makes a ton of sense. Next one, and this one will be this is maybe the most intriguing one to me, also proposed by the competition committee, allowing league personnel to consult with the on-field officials when considering disqualifications for flagrant football acts and non-football acts that are not called on the field. So things like punches, spitting, stomping on, unsportsmanlike conduct that the referees miss. Think Jalen Ramsey versus Jamar Chase last year, that spitting incident.
Bring it back home.
League personnel, from the booth or from the league offices or whatever the case may be, would have the ability to buzz down to the officials and say, hey, that guy just spit on that guy, or that guy just stomped on that guy's leg in the pile. Non-football, flagrant football acts.
So I've been giving this a little more thought, and I'm sure every owner and everyone in charge of this great league does not want that look. Here's a replay 500 times in a row of someone spitting in the other one's face.
Saw it with Jalen Carter and Dak Prescott in the
right,
opener.
Right. It's a terrible look, and I'm sure they want all that stuff out. Good. I mean, on the surface, all these rules are going to sound good today, but if you start breaking them down, I immediately start thinking like, well, how far are we going to take this? If it's like the whistle blows and I'm walking away and I give you one of these. Oh, I don't know. Let's look at it.
Sure.
Like how far are we going to take
this?
And
for those listening on radio, Matt just gave me a light push on the shoulder.
Right, he's under there giving them the business. I'm like, some of this stuff's just boys being boys in football.
Just competition.
Yeah. Let's not take it too far. I mean, gross flagrant things, punch below the belt or, but not
Stepping
even like
on someone's ankle.
Not even like a shot to the face afterward. I mean, like these things have happened since the dawn of time.
Yes.
Let's not relegate everything out of it. That's my only worry there.
That's a very good point by you because
just kind of thought through that
you'd be leaving a lot of interpretation to the official.
Right, like, well, why didn't we look at that?
Because you might think that that's flagrant, I might not.
Yeah.
I might just think that's part of the game.
And it might be worth a flag if it had been caught the first time around, but do we have to watch all of them? Again, I mean, I'm sure it's just the big ones.
That's
Monday Night Football, someone's spitting each other face or doing something. You can't have that. I get it.
No, that's a great point by you, though, because that does leave a lot of interpretation down to the official and what they would consider flagrant and non-football acts. And then finally, lastly,
I mean, I wonder also like a obscene gesture or a throat slash or any of those type of things, or
maybe
grabbing yourself
or something like that.
Does that count?
A certain finger on the hand might be in the
we
middle.
Could all
might be in the middle
it.
of your fist.
Right.
That's all the stuff they'll be discussing, I'm sure. And what exactly can the parameters of this be? How far can we take it? And is it realistically enforceable? Or are we putting these referees in a tough spot?
Because I don't even know those things need to be under review.
True.
Under the review for maybe giving the guy the finger,
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Like a spit or like a crotch punch or a stamp on somebody, that's different. But there is a fine line between just that guy's being a jerk versus something that needs punished.
Yeah. I mean, I remember like Namakon Sue back in the day would get up after a sack or hitting the quarterback and like stomp on his hand. Like, we don't need that.
We don't need that.
And frankly, Joe Green did a lot of these things too. And, the Steelers aren't.
Jack Lambert, baby.
Right. Yeah.
Last one proposed by the competition committee of the 5 potential rules proposals is for 1 year only, allow the NFL officiating department to correct clear and obvious misses made by on-field officials that impact the game. However, with the caveat of this is only in the event that there is a work stoppage involving the game officials represented by the NFL Referees Association. For those who are like, what the heck is Wes talking about?
Yeah, there's a lot of words there.
The league and the NFL Referees Association are currently at a little bit of a stalemate. So they do not have a
Contractually,
contract. Contractually,
right.
the NFL officials do not have their. It's the same thing as we see when there's a CBA between the league and the players. There's also that same thing between the league and the Referees Association.
There could be a strike or a work short or
like we had in 2012.
Yeah.
Everybody remembers the replacement refs. There is potential for that again this year. And if that was the case, we wouldn't have the Fail Mary type situation again like we had in Seattle in 2012 between the Seahawks and the Packers, where one referee signaling touchdown, the other signaling incomplete, and they have to argue about it for 10 minutes. This would give them
Which, frankly, could have happened with the real refs, but it's just
have.
A terrible look. It's like, oh, the replacement refs, right?
This gives me worry, Matt. This gives me pause. One, that they are doing this preemptively because they're thinking that there's going to be a referee strike, and two, that they realize that it's probably not going to be the highest level of officiating. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking into it too far, but this one is kind of making my spidey senses tingle.
Yeah. Part of me also thought maybe it's a really good negotiating ploy for the refs. Like, we're preparing for life without you guys.
Ooh,
that's
so
maybe
we're
going to offer you 10% less than you're asking, or who knows. I mentioned this the other day. I also think refs are a little bit like drivers. Like, you get to an age where you might have to take your driver's test again.
It's a great example.
Like, I'm not saying having, quote, scab or replacement refs would be good for the league, but you might find 3 or 4 that are better than the dudes that are getting paid full time for it.
It's not a bad point.
It might be much worse too. It's going to be scrutinized more under which is already scrutinized a lot.
Yes, exactly right. So those are the rules proposals on the agenda here over the next couple days. There's also,
I will say, compared to other years, this is a little light. Like the kickoff rule or tush push, or like people have been talking about for months. Like, they can't wait till this, then they battle it out and it's 49-51 or whatever.
Yes.
These seem a little bit reserved.
Yes, there are some bylaw proposals too. We'll discuss those when we return. We'll kind of continue our.
I'm sure they'll be talking about 18 game. I mean, there'll be those kind of talks going on here.
Absolutely. We'll continue with kind of the owners meeting 411, the primer, the need to know here, as we are just getting started from the Biltmore in Arizona, beautiful Phoenix, for the 2026 NFL Annual League meetings. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, it's The Drive, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Back on the drive here inside the Biltmore in Phoenix, Arizona, all part of our first day of coverage of the NFL Annual League meetings. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson on location, the drive here with a bonus third hour for the next 3 days. Matt, we covered the rule proposals in the opening segment. Now there are bylaw proposals as well, too, that'll be on the docket here. One of these is making my spidey senses tingle again about the 18-game schedule thing that you just said. We'll get to that in a minute. Also, one of these proposed by the Steelers. So a little home cooking, home cooking angle here.
From what I understand, any of these teams can propose anything they want.
Cleveland made a proposal that we'll get to here in just a second. But the first one on the agenda, also proposed by the competition committee, permit the league office to adjust the procedures and dates and deadlines for final roster reduction to accommodate the international game scheduled in the first week of the regular season. So basically,
I'm not sure I follow.
This would give, I think, the Rams.
There's always an international game in week 1 now.
Yes,
because travel's easier before.
And it's the Rams and the Niners.
Okay.
In that
Melbourne,
Australia. So this would basically. I think because they're going to have to leave earlier. This has to do with
that's insane travel, right?
This has to do with when the 53-man roster is due in the deadline.
Okay.
And I don't know if it would give them more leeway or if they have to get theirs in earlier because they're traveling. You get what I'm saying? But it all has to do with when those teams have to have their final rosters versus playing that first – getting on the plane with their final roster, and all that stuff.
Okay. So, obviously, for them, things – go in motion. I guess is my way of interpreting. I hope I'm not too far off. The league and the wheels of the league start in motion earlier for those two teams.
Correct.
And noticeably earlier because you have to get there. You got to get settled in. It's an entire day of travel. Didn't you go to Australia?
I've been to Australia before.
It's insane.
Nuts.
I'm sure they have a direct flight.
They will have a direct flight from the West Coast, but it's still 18 hours.
I mean, it's a day.
It's an 18-hour flight.
Yeah.
Like when I went, Matt, we had to fly from Pittsburgh to L.A., which is 5 hours, and then 18 hours to.
I didn't know if you go left or right
to Australia.
Out of Pittsburgh.
Maybe you could do both. I don't know, but we did Pittsburgh to L.A. to Sydney when I went down under, and it is.
And you don't want to take
taxing.
people on your plane that aren't going to make the team.
Correct.
Obviously.
Correct.
So they have to have their roster set well before they wheels up. But you can't have cut day different for every team or for two teams. I mean, if that's what they're implying
and
at
I
all,
think
that
maybe
means
part
no
of it
sense.
too is just their ability to add and drop guys at that juncture too. If they want to make
that's the thing is, what if someone gets hurt in practice?
Exactly right.
And like, hey, I need a new quarterback, right.
I can't wait till the waiver deadline to add this guy. I need him right now.
My kicker pulled a hamstring or something, like fell on the steps or something,
Yes.
and I can't play this game without a kicker.
Yes, that's what it's related to.
Okay, I guess I see the sticky part of that situation. This also brings me, though. Doesn't this lead us one more step closer to only having 2 preseason games and then maybe have roster cuts across the league earlier? We've been saying that's inevitable for 3 or 4 years. The 18-game, 2 preseason thing.
And, Matt, that transitions nicely to the second bylaw proposal. This is the one that I said that really had my antenna up. It would amend the Constitution and the bylaws of the league to establish the Saturday and Sunday of Labor Day weekend as business days for the NFL, to provide clubs with notices during the first weekend after the roster reduction. Now, that's how it would relate to immediately. But it eventually would get to, if you can make the Saturday and Sunday of Labor Day weekend business days for the league, you could start your league a week earlier.
Yes,
on Labor Day weekend.
Labor Day weekend.
Instead of waiting until the next weekend in September, you play Labor Day weekend. Maybe you play Saturday games as well, Saturday and Sunday. You make it a whole weekend thing, Monday maybe too. And that's where you add your 18th game. Instead of pushing back the regular season another week and pushing back the playoffs and pushing back the Super Bowl, you add it on the front end. You play the 2 preseason games in August.
I think you do both. So
okay.
Hang with me for a minute.
That's true because you'd add another bye week.
Exactly.
So you would really need to start Labor Day weekend.
Absolutely. So what threw me off there, can you reread that one? Something about how it's a work day?
It would amend the Constitution and bylaws to establish the Saturday and Sunday of Labor Day weekend as business days. Because right now,
what I don't understand is, do you think Omar and Coach McCarthy and the linebackers coach aren't working those days? Do you think they're on the beach?
No, but I think
you know what I mean?
Guys, sorry. The weekend before the season starts, you can't be working.
Right. They're preparing. They're business days anyway. That's just a weird verbiage to me.
It is.
I'm not a lawyer. I don't write these type of things, but I was a creative writing major.
7 years to graduate. 6. Sorry, 6.
You add on a lot.
Well,
it gets the point across.
Sounds better.
They're still doing things anyways, but I guess they're just saying they could possibly play games those days.
Well, that's what I don't know. I don't think they're saying that necessarily right now, but I think
prepare for it.
That's the first step that leads to this.
Yeah. So, just to rewind a second, I do think what is coming, and to me, it's coming like a freight train, is 2 preseason games, 1 home, 1 away. Fine. Labor Day weekend is kickoff weekend, which I guess
preseason games would stay the same points, and then you'd still have that 2-week break, and then Labor Day, bang, season
and you'd
starts.
still have games like Thursday before Labor Day with like the Super Bowl champs or maybe this Melbourne type game or whatever.
Matt, if they start playing Wednesday games this year, they're going to start playing Wednesday games.
We probably
forward.
should get used to that
yes.
too. I think
toothpaste doesn't go back in the tube.
No, especially. Well, I'll get to this in a minute, but I know that there was pushback before, like, we don't want to start on Labor Day weekend. Everyone's grilling. No one's going to pay attention. I'm like, everyone in the world's going to pay attention.
Everyone's going to pay attention.
What are you talking about?
Exactly
it's opening day
right.
weekend in the biggest, best league in the world. It doesn't matter. They could start anytime, and they're going to be massive.
The NFL, it took them about a year to steal Christmas from the NBA. And now it's their own. The NBA dominated Christmas for a decade. Now it's the NFL.
If they went to kick Santa out of Christmas, they could.
Exactly right.
Let alone
exactly
the NBA.
right.
These are,
Labor Day weekend's a big weekend for college football. The NFL could snatch their chain right away and say that's ours. Thank you.
Our buddy Chris Halicke walking past. Maybe we'll grab him in the next couple hours.
I would love to grab. Look at him smiling in the Arizona sunshine, looking nice and refreshed. Yeah, we'll definitely have to have that guy on as a guest here sometime soon.
So I do think opening week 1 will start a week earlier eventually.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree.
My
That's inevitable.
favorite part of it all is there would be 2 bye weeks because I think people know this. One of my least favorite things about the schedule currently is like Thursday on the road, they get half a practice basically. I would think somebody way smarter than me can make a lot of Thursday games with some sort of break on both sides. Someone's coming off a bye and gets 10 days on both sides, as opposed to 3 or 4 or whatever. Definitely more international games. That sounds like there would probably be 16 that every team would play.
There's 9 this year.
And I just learned this the other day when you read it that there's max 10. Not max of 10.
That's another thing that's on the bylaw proposal summary here.
Which again, all these things are leading to the schedule we're talking about. So you space out 2 bye weeks, which unfortunately somebody probably will have to have one in like week 2 or 3. But
if you're getting 2,
you're getting 2. I mean, the players would love it.
Not the end of the world, yeah.
And then the Super Bowl's 1 week later, which is okay. I mean, part of me doesn't love making a potential NFC championship game in Green Bay even one week colder.
Or an AFC championship game in Pittsburgh or Buffalo or New England a week later.
Yeah. But I also, that's a side note, I also think the league is going towards maybe more domes in these cities too, just to lessen the effect of weather. But I think I've been calling for this forever. I mean, 1 less preseason game, who's going to complain? The international games, the Steelers might play in Dublin every other week or every other year, and that's their home game. Their road games in Mexico City or Australia or Spain or whatever. And you kind of get a home field vibe, especially for some of these teams that have a strong –
Totally.
Dublin Steelers is like the best example.
Yep.
Not everyone has that type of connection. And the 2 bye week thing is, to me, so much better for player health. I mean, so much better. And to me, that's the number one thing. Even though you're adding a game,
from that standpoint,
this thing might be better for player health and quality of play. Thursday night games make me bonkers.
I know,
especially
you
the
hate
road
them.
games. Yeah,
you hate
the road
them.
teams, right? At least let them practice. Can we at least prepare for this game? Right.
It is nuts. It is nuts,
And
especially as you mentioned. You're going on the road. We play Sunday. You're going on the road Wednesday. Like, it's crazy.
And they're often division games, which are worth more.
Yep. The Steelers have proposed making permanent change to something that was implemented this past year that allows clubs to have 1 video or phone call with up to 5 prospective unrestricted free agents in that 2-day negotiating period, and permits teams to make travel arrangements with such players upon agreeing to terms. So in the old system, I think you could agree to terms, but you then had to wait until the actual opening of free agency to schedule their travel and all the logistics.
Yeah.
Whereas now, if it's Monday
Someone could fail a physical or
if it's Monday of that negotiation period, you can say, hey, we're going to fly you in at this time or whatever and have you sign your contract and do your physicals and this and that. You could put real parameters on it instead of that whole okay, well, we'll talk to you again in a day or 2 and get this figured out.
Which I guess makes all the sense in the world too. Unfortunately, this is the one the Steelers presented because I understand it the least. Because I just don't know exactly what the parameters are now. I mean, quote, legal tampering, I know they don't even call it that anymore. Are you allowed to do Zooms, and is it unlimited? I don't know what the current rules are.
I feel like there's channels of communication allowed between the team and the player's agent. But I don't know if with the player directly.
Can you do a Zoom with Jamil Dean or whoever?
So this
I
year,
know you can't fly them in.
This year, I think you could, because this was kind of the trial year for all of that.
Okay.
And the Steelers are proposing to make it permanent.
Which I guess makes sense.
Yeah. If it worked out well if everybody likes it from this year, why not keep it?
Yeah. And I wonder why the number's 5. Who knows? Maybe next year they say, let's bump it to 8 or let's go to 3 or what. I don't know.
Yeah, that is a good – I guess maybe because you don't want teams casting too wide of a net during that.
Yeah.
Like that negotiating period should be for the 3, 4, 5 guys that you've really identified that are your top priorities, not for you to talk to 30 free agents across the league.
Mm-hmm. And if I have a bigger staff, I can have more people talk to them and all those things. But I was also looking at it from a GM team building standpoint. I'm sure there's many times going into free agency, the Commanders say, we have to sign a corner. This is our favorite one, but we're going to sign one of these 8 dudes.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I make 8 because I'm going to make a number bigger than 5.
Sure.
It's like we have to sign one. Our corner position's a disaster. We cannot wait till the draft. Okay, we'll pick our top 5. but then I can't do a running back or anything. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I just don't know why 5's a number, and I'm sure there's someone smarter than me that does.
Well, speaking of 5, Matt, the last thing that we have to discuss here in our league meetings 411 to kind of set the stage for everything to come in the days to come here, the Cleveland Browns have proposed a amendment that would allow teams to trade their draft picks up to 5 seasons away in the future. The current rule, you can trade picks up to 3 years ahead of time. So, like, for example, at the draft this year, you could trade a 27 pick, a 28 pick, and a 29 pick, 3 years ahead. Cleveland's proposing to make it 5 years instead of 3 years.
I don't think there's any way this passes.
I don't
and
either.
I like it less and less the more I think about it.
And you and I have talked a lot about this. Like, it starts to remind me of the NBA where teams just start kicking the can so far down the road and they start tanking or building assets for 4 and 5 years in the future, and then you end up with, by the time you get halfway through the season, the bottom third of your league is already way out of contention and doesn't care, and their fans aren't buying tickets and watching games, and that's something the NFL has done so well. Is you want more and more teams, you want more and more parity, you want teams playing.
That's why you had the 7th game or 7th team for playoffs
and the extra regular season game.
Exactly.
You want more teams. You want to keep the fan bases engaged down the stretch, not allowing all these teams to just constantly be working for the future.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you laid it out perfectly, but it's like one of the things that the owners want last is non-competitive games or games where people are sitting their dudes or traded everybody or putting a shell of what they potentially could put out on the field from a competitive standpoint. I mean, they don't want that ever. They don't love when a team is 15-1 and rests their starters going into their bye week, even though they're the best team in the league, let alone the worst teams in the league. I mean, I'm not going to pick on the Dolphins, but the Dolphins had a fire sale. I mean, if they were to trade everybody else by like week 12 and they're putting out a shell of themselves, nobody's going to have any interest in that whatsoever. You know, right? I can't. And this would promote that.
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
And that's the last thing the NFL's always been about. They've done a really good job of that, and I would be surprised if that doesn't continue.
Me too.
Matt, we are live here at the Biltmore.
I also don't want, and like the Rams kind of already did this, but to a much lesser degree. I don't want the Eagles or anyone, I mean Steelers for that matter. I'm going to trade you the next 5 first-round picks for Myles Garrett, A.J. Brown, and you know,
Joe Burrow,
and somebody else awesome, and then be awful for 4 years after they all retire. Like that's pushing your chips in too far.
Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, we are live at the Biltmore in Phoenix, Arizona, all part of our ongoing annual league meetings coverage. When we return to close down the first hour, I've got 3 things down here that I think are big Steelers-related questions that we could get some clarity on this week.
Oh, okay.
From Omar Khan, from Mike McCarthy, from Mr. Rooney, from everybody involved. I'll kick those around with Matt on the other side. Uhler, Williamson, it's all happening here. Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. So we spent the majority of that first segment setting the scene for all the 30,000-foot view.
Yeah, league rules,
league-related,
administrative stuff
on the agenda here, of course, in Phoenix, Arizona, for the NFL annual league meetings. Matt, from a Steelers perspective, if we can zoom in here, because Mike McCarthy will be speaking twice to the local media and then to everyone at the round table.
I'm not sure if every coach in the league does that or if that's just a cool thing the Steelers do.
Interesting.
I think it's a cool thing the Steelers do and some other teams.
Probably is, and probably explains why it's really only Steelers and maybe Jets people in here today that we've seen so far, a couple national people.
Like Dale used to explain this stuff to me too, because I mean I'm not a reporter, but I mean the Steelers are very open with the media compared to a lot of teams. Like the Patriots, like don't let you watch practice; they kick you out.
Yes.
You know, things like that.
Correct.
You know?
Correct. So Mike McCarthy's local media lunch will be tomorrow, Monday, and then Tuesday, Mike McCarthy will speak at the AFC Coaches Breakfast. Omar Khan,
right in front of us here,
Omar Khan will speak during lunch to the Pittsburgh media, and then Art Rooney to the Pittsburgh local media as well. So with that, Matt, I've got 3 things that I think are safe bets that those guys are all going to be asked about, and we'll give some type of answer. And I think you know the first one that's on my mind, and it is any update in the Aaron Rodgers saga. Yeah,
and I'm not sure how to even respond to that. You and I have brought this up many times. I can't speak for Aaron Rodgers, but I do think, and I think this was somewhat true last year whenever they were starting to get linked, that how many times have I said, and since I've been on the air in any capacity, that these teams, if you pay enough attention, will tell you what they're thinking. It doesn't mean it always is going to come to fruition, and it doesn't mean we can predict the future, but their moves or the lack thereof indicate that they probably think he's going to be the quarterback.
Yes.
I mean, as it did leading into OTAs last year, or they would have done something else. You're not there's no way they're going to go into the draft with just Rudolph and Howard.
I would be shocked if that's the case.
I can't imagine.
I was saying that back in, January too, and now it's almost April.
Right.
But I think you're right, or maybe at least questions about a timeline. Maybe we'll get
maybe that's a better way to phrase it.
Maybe that's the better way to phrase it, but some clarity on just, hey, is there a deadline? Do you need to have this decision known by the time, we get to Thursday, April 23rd, and the first round of the draft kicks off on the North Shore of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania? But that is, of course, going to be, I think, the first thing that these guys are asked about.
Now, I'm not implying, because I don't think this would be a bad way to do business. If they get to Thursday on day one of the draft happened to be on the North Shore, like you said, I hope they're not saying, well, if Rodgers hasn't signed, we're taking Ty Simpson.
Sure.
And if he didn't, we're not. Like, you either like the guy or not. Like he's either worth the pick and you love him and he should be your next quarterback, or he shouldn't. Or, it shouldn't change their draft plans. I mean, we're definitely taking one in the third round. Like, well, you should know that with or without Rodgers, because at most he's a one-year fix.
That's right.
And I know it's kind of uninspiring, but if by chance he does turn you down and you want him, and I would think they would pivot to Cousins or Carr.
I would think so, too.
I don't think you just go with Rudolph and Howard.
Because it
seems nuts to me.
And I don't think they'd look at the draft and say there's anybody that we can get that's going to be ready to win games for us in September.
No.
Because I think
they may love Nussmeier either way.
Sure, but I don't think they'd say he's going to be ready to win games for us in September.
Sure. We want him in our building.
I think Fernando Mendoza is the only one in this class you can realistically say that about.
They're not getting him. Right.
unless they could trade 5 first-round draft picks to go get him. So that's number one. That's no doubt.
Yeah, people are going to bring that up, as any reporter should.
Number 2, and I know they're going to bring this up as any reporter should, but I think it's still flying a little bit under the radar relatively. Any updates on Broderick Jones' health?
Oh, yeah. I guess we don't bring that up enough. And it's hard to get health updates this time of year. I mean, I'm not great at even like when we have guests on. I feel like one of my weaknesses is I can be better at asking questions.
Same.
I'm used to receiving questions.
Same.
But I wonder if someone phrases a question along the lines of, do you expect Broderick Jones ready for OTAs and minicamp? If the answer is no, probably not. Do you expect them for the start of training camp? Okay. Those are reasonable dates to think maybe, And
if the answer to both of those is no, then all of a sudden it raises some real questions.
I think it amps up
offensive linemen in the first round.
Exactly. We often go that route, and I've talked about it forever. You've talked about it forever. I think it's a logical move either way. But, boy, and then all of a sudden your feet to the fire a little bit, right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that to me is, listen, the Aaron Rodgers is the headliner. But Broderick Jones is a pretty important warm-up act. Well, I guess that wouldn't make sense because the warm-up act wouldn't come after the headliner. But you get what I'm saying.
I see what you're saying.
The Aaron Rodgers, I think, question is the biggest one from the Steelers' perspective. But that Broderick Jones and his availability, man, it has there's a direct correlation on how you're going to work the draft, how you're going to work the start of training camp and the regular season based on what his availability is and how that fits into the equation with Dylan Cook and everybody else on the left side of that line.
Now, they might think they actually found a true diamond in the rough in Dylan Cook. And
absolutely.
He played like that. I mean, I give him all the credit in the world. I am not dismissing him.
And it was not a 2-game sample size.
No, and it was against good competition. And I think Myles Garrett was one of those games. And, and he held his own. So I often get blowback, like, you're too tough on Cook. He might be the answer. If he is, great. Yeah, I mean, that is.
I just don't want to put all my eggs in that basket.
No, I mean, that's like getting Brock Purdy in the 7th round. That's the best thing ever. I mean, or if Howard's a starter. I mean, those are wonderful things, and they do happen in this league. But to bank on that might be nuts. But you also have a new O-line coach. It might be like, man, Dylan Cook's really good, and I'm very comfortable starting him for 18 games, and maybe that is a plan, and maybe they extend him in tomorrow or in the preseason or whatever, and be like, we got a dude. That'd be great. But we also know that position's hard to come by.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Yes, it is.
just a real shortage. And
shopping in a luxury car lot for that position.
I don't want to have to go shopping down an aisle that I can't afford.
He started Week 13 against the Buffalo Bills, then the Ravens, then the Dolphins, then the Lions, then the Browns, and the Ravens again, and then, of course, that playoff game against the Texans. So some good defensive linemen and some good edge rushers in those teams that I just mentioned there.
And the O-line as a whole was not great against the Texans. We know that.
No, it was not. It certainly was not. But
that's as fierce a competition as you're going to get.
Maybe the best defensive front in the NFL last year. Last one, Max. I said I had 3 of these for you in terms of questions for the, Mike McCarthy, Omar Khan, and when we hear them speak over the next couple days, obviously questions about Aaron Rodgers, obviously questions about Broderick Jones and his health and future availability. But I think the last one is just kind of how they view the roster as we get closer and closer, now less than a month away from the draft. Is your business done? Do you still have big areas you need to address? Do you think you're at that proverbial spot that we always talk about where we could go play a game on Sunday? Well, I know today's Sunday, so we could go play a game.
Yeah.
We could go play a game today
if
we had to, Not that our roster's perfect or anything, but we don't view any gaping holes. How do they kind of evaluate the roster here? Is there still business that needs addressed and needs done in the next few weeks? Or are they confident with what they have heading into the draft along with those 12 picks?
Yeah, and again, great question. I would have, of course, I'm sure Omar, like any GM, would say, "Oh, we're always looking to get better. We're always charting the bottom of the looking for diamonds in the rough. We're always going to look. Of course, we're not going to sit on our hands." But I would think maybe somebody slips like, now we're kind of focused towards the draft, which to me would say we're kind of done with free agency signings. We'll fill in the gaps later. But now it's time to focus on the draft, which I think is where they should be right now.
I think so, too, because that's kind of in my mind. I've been like, okay, if they were to make another move in free agency, where would it be?
Rodgers aside. The quarterback side, of course. I don't know where it would be. I thought maybe they could, like if Calvin Austin was still out there.
Sure.
Could maybe you get him at league minimum, and you're familiar with him, still draft a receiver in the first or second round if you want, but he at least would be part of the package.
Because you've added at wide receiver, you've added at defensive line, you've added on offensive line, you've added in the secondary, corner and safety. I mean, those are all the areas.
Joel Bitonio's and
running back. We added at running back too.
Yeah. Could you get a bargain tight end? Maybe, but I'd much rather. We don't talk about this, but this tight end class is kind of loaded.
Very intriguing tight end class. Yeah. And I think other than Kenyon Sadiq, you'd probably have a good chance to get any of those other guys if you identified them as a target.
Yeah, and I did a little more homework on tight ends. That's why I brought it up. Is there were 6 more tight ends invited to this combine than any other combine in NFL history.
Wow.
I think there was 27.
So that goes all the way back to 2003 when they started tracking that stuff, right?
I don't know.
But even still, regardless.
Right. There was fewer running backs. There was a lot more tight ends invited, and what that tells you is when they're sitting there in the 5th round, they're going to have a 4th or 3rd round grade on a tight end. So why go buy that guy in free agency right now? Definitely shop and get the cheap dude.
It makes a ton
cheap
of
young
sense.
guy.
Makes a ton of sense. And they, we added Hoffman on the offensive line.
Yeah.
Added to the defensive line. Added 2 pieces in the secondary in Dean and Brisker. So, yeah, it feels like most of that free agency business is done. But maybe they say, we're still.
They're
still
always
looking
going
at
to look.
some options.
Yeah,
absolutely. And then you know what, too? I guess maybe, and I know we got like 60 seconds here, but I would be interested if anyone brings up Cam Johnston and just is the punter job his? Does he still have to earn it? Are you looking to bring in competition? Because Corliss Waitman, the Niners, but he in Tampa Bay. I
forget. Probably Tampa.
Corliss with Danny Smith, but Corliss Waitman is now out of the picture. So I know that's kind of way down on the list of popular topics, but I would imagine that's something that could be discussed too. You looking for a punter competition?
I haven't thought about that at all. I mean, again, we hadn't really addressed that Waitman's not going to be back. I would think you bring in somebody to swing their leg, not to challenge Boz, but they usually bring a kicker in and they showcase them.
Last year.
Yeah. And probably a 7th round or undrafted free agent, more likely undrafted free agent punter.
It'd be interesting.
Yeah. Maybe a 5 specialists at camp.
That's something we haven't really talked about. But
That's a good question.
You're free to use that one on one of your 700 podcasts that you do if you need to.
Okay.
If you need to kill a few minutes of punter talk. That's the first hour in the books. 2 more hours to go. We'll nab some guests. We'll have some more draft conversation. We'll have some more Steelers conversation. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, just getting started here inside the Biltmore in Arizona for the NFL League meetings on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Welcome back to The Drive, Steelers Nation. It is hour number 2 here of our special ongoing coverage. We are at the Biltmore in Arizona for the annual league meetings out here on the West Coast. And yes, if you're from the Northeast, you should be jealous. I mean,
it's pretty nice.
It's sunny, it's beautiful, and
yes.
You know what? I would always hear, right, Matt? I've spent brief time in Arizona in the past, but this is kind of my first spending a real elongated few days.
Okay, a couple days, yeah.
And man, that whole dry heat thing that people say, I think is kind of real.
It really is.
I was walking around this morning and it was 80 degrees out, and it did not feel 80 degrees. It felt really nice and comfortable.
So when we come down from our elevators in our hotel, I didn't look on the app or everything, but there's a TV right there at the elevators. You might have noticed it. And it's like today's events, blah blah blah,
yes,
and it has the weather. And I looked, and the weather's the high of 97 today. I'm like, whew, oh, this dude's going to melt, man. And it's not like that at all. I mean, it's just totally different. I mean, yeah, it's warm. There's a lot of sun. It's nice out, but it's not like this is unbearable. Or like when you get off a plane in Florida and you walk into a screen of just heat and humidity.
I like it, Arizona. You're rapidly rising up my state power rankings.
Yeah,
here
it's pretty strong.
So far during our time that we've been here so far. We will be here. We leave Wednesday, so we've got shows for you for 3 days here: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Give you 9 hours from
here, and a bonus hour every single day, starting with this special Sunday show. Matt, Bucky Brooks on the NFL Network put out a list of 10 draft wild cards, the 10 prospects who could really shake up everybody's big board and the order and kind of just what we think of the draft so far to this point. Some of these names,
on there, yeah.
Some of these names are big names. Like, okay, spoiler alert, Ty Simpson is on there. You know what I mean? Because does he go early? Does he go late? Does he go in the first round? Does someone trade in to get him?
It takes one team to love him.
Some of these names are names that we've barely discussed, but the number one on the list, and I think it makes sense, is Ty Simpson. He feels like the biggest wild card. I think if he went in the 13 to 17 range, it wouldn't shock us if he went in the back half of the first round. But maybe if he falls, do you see any scenario where he falls to day 2?
Slight, but doubtful. I mean, just history shows rarely is there one quarterback taken in the first round. I mean, I think Kenny Pickett was one of the only ones.
Yeah.
So a couple things I think work in his favor is this draft is not loaded with premium position players. And a lot of teams have multiple picks. So some of these teams, the Jets certainly come to mind, that are going to value tackles and edge rushers and quarterbacks and expensive things, might be willing to take him earlier than their grades indicate. And frankly, there's a lot to like about his tape too. There might be many teams out there that do have a first-round grade on him. I don't mean to dismiss that at all. But I think when the Jets pick their second first-rounder, I want to say it's 17 or 16, right in the middle of the first round, they might just do it. I mean, they have 3 first-round picks next year. They have a decent line to put them behind. They already have a pick in the books. I keep going to the Jets and especially the Cardinals that could really be in that market.
And the Jets too, because you start the season with Geno, and if Ty Simpson, you can give him time to get ready.
And I think he needs time.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
History shows these guys that don't have that many starts, which he doesn't, really could use some time to sit and marinate a little bit and learn. But if you like him enough, see, I look at him much like Jackson Dart last year. Like, he seems like the ideal bad team comes from the beginning of second round to trade with a playoff team.
Trades up 7 spots.
Trades up 7 spots. But if you're the Jets and you're in that discussion, I got to make sure the Cardinals don't do it, the Browns don't do it, whoever else I'm not thinking about. And the Browns have a lot of picks. Cardinals have a lot of resources. You have the most. Just take them at 17 and be done with it. You know what I mean?
It's not terrible logistics.
And if he doesn't
Or
work out,
thought process, sorry.
you could trade him the next year to the Steelers or the Dolphins or whoever.
Yeah.
If you're picking first in the draft next year with 3 first-round picks and you're in love with Arch or Sellers or whoever, it's not that hard to get out of.
Right.
Take them both to camp, whatever. Right.
I that's starting to make sense. And
Yeah.
it feels, I would lean towards he goes in the top 20 more so than he falls to day 2.
Yeah.
Number 2 on this list, running back Mike Washington Jr. out of Arkansas. 4.33 40-yard dash. He's 6'1", 225 pounds, fast, physical, and one of the few guys in this class with the potential to be RB1.
I don't think he's any potential to be RB1.
Not in a starting
Okay.
running back in for one of the 32
okay,
teams.
yeah.
Sorry, I should have worded
it. As soon as
that
I said that, I'm like, I know what he means.
Because obviously Jeremiah Love is RB1 in this class, but to be a starting running back in the league.
Yeah, I guess he has a case for that. I mean, again, big and fast, plays at that position really well, and he does have those things. He could be running back 2, and it wouldn't shock me. I think the earliest running back 2 comes off the board, though, is the last pick in the second round to Seattle.
Okay.
Who really need a running back
You think
in a
that's
bad
the
way.
earliest?
Yeah, I can't imagine any of them going in the top 63 or whatever. I mean, there's just not that many needs. None of them are that strong a prospect.
It might be a good place to be if you're Seattle then.
Yeah, right. You get your pick of all those other dudes.
Wait till
right.
the end of the second round, and we can basically have anybody not named Jeremiah Love.
And then maybe the third round, a couple guys get sprinkled in. But I can see why he'd be on this list, just because there could be a lot of different views on him.
That one was one of the interesting ones on this list to me because I think that's probably the first time we've discussed him to this point.
Yeah.
We've barely talked about running backs.
Or even just a discussion of when does RB2 fall off the board, because it's going to be a big gap between 1 and 2.
Yes.
Like maybe one of the biggest gaps in history.
I was just going to say, perhaps maybe it will be the biggest gap in history, especially if Jeremiah Love ends up going 4th.
Or something, right, yeah.
Number 3 on this list is Chris Brazzell II, wide receiver out of Tennessee that we've discussed. 6'4", 200 pounds.
We need to talk about him more.
6'4", 200 pounds, 4.37 speed. Had over 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns this past year at Tennessee. Matt, he's the one that I think we're not talking about enough with the potential to jump up into the first round, or maybe he doesn't even need to jump up into the first round. Maybe that's just where he belongs.
I think he's the most George Pickens-like receiver in this draft. Most of that, I mean, is an extreme compliment, because not only is he big and fast, we know those things, but he's fluid and capable of much more. He's not just a sprinter out there that runs fast down the sidelines. However, that's the only way really Tennessee has used him in their Mickey Mouse Looney Tunes offense that we talk about. So you haven't seen the diverse route tree. And if you remember, like, why I bring up Pickens too, like, remember his rookie year here? He led the league in go routes. The Steelers did not have him run a very diverse route tree. He barely played his last year at Georgia. So he was a raw route runner. Tennessee's offense, half the time, you've probably watched them, like half the time, half the field doesn't even run off the line of scrimmage. You know, they save their energy.
Right.
I forget exactly what they even call it. They don't hide it, you know. So he basically runs goes, comebacks, slants, or posts, not slants. So he does not run a real diverse route tree. But unlike a lot of these sprinters, he can break down. He can snap off routes. He's almost like a Pickens-like talent, which is one of the most talented dudes in the league. But there's also, I don't want to say there's off-the-field stuff, but there is some concerns about his level of maturity and things like that, too, from what I gather. You know, so could he go to the first round to the Bills or somebody like that? Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, those are
the type of guys the Bills have been taking a lot of chances on.
Yeah,
huh?
Or the Chiefs with their second pick or something like that. Some established, good quarterback, playoff type team. Yes, and they just say, this is what you're going to do, and we'll bring you along slow. And frankly, there's a couple receivers, him being maybe at the top of the list, that if I told you 3 years from now was the best receiver in this class, he could get there.
Yeah.
I mean, he could get there.
I could certainly see it. It is funny, like some of the same things that you see about him: inconsistent effort, not the strongest guy, limited route running experience.
Yeah, okay,
but
that all plays.
A lot of those things feel like things that you can work on, that you can coach up.
Yeah,
you can't coach up 6'4" with sub 4.40 speed
and bend. I mean, that's the thing, is he's not just a linear, straight line athlete.
Yeah. Number what are we on? 4 here on this list is tight end Eli Stowers out of Vanderbilt. 6'4", 240, had a record-breaking 45.5-inch vertical leap for tight ends at the Combine. He could play on the perimeter. He's got length. He's got ability. He's got exceptional ball skills, Matt. He is firmly in the conversation for me for tight end 2 in this class.
Yeah.
And just a very intriguing we know if you could find one of those guys that is the matchup nightmare there at that position, it's a real strength for an offense, and he feels like a candidate to be one of those guys at the next level.
See, I think running back and tight end are similar in this draft, and everyone on the planet knows who's going first at those positions. When is the team going to pull the trigger on the second one? How long are we going to wait? And as we talked about, though, the running back depth pales in comparison to the tight end depth. So even if Stowers is clearly number 2, and he won't be for everyone because of his style of play. I mean, you can't ask him to be an inline blocker or, he's not Darnell Washington, folks. That's for sure. But why? Some teams might be like, I'm not pulling the trigger on him at the end of the second round because I'm going to get a really good one in the 4th. There's just more supply for tight end 2 through 15.
Makes sense. It's the supply and demand conversation that you have to have this time of year.
But he's a unique physical specimen.
Oh, he could be a special prospect, that's for sure. And number 5, last on the offensive side of the ball here for this conversation, Monroe Freeling, tackle out of Georgia.
It's a good one.
No disputing his athleticism and his upside as a true left tackle prospect. He's got the traits that scouts covet and a potential blindside protector, nimble feet, good movement, active hands, accurate punches. But despite all that, he only had 18 college starts and a lot of unrefined technique that there might be a little bit more of development needed there for a guy that's going to be drafted so highly.
Yeah, could stand to get a smidge stronger, too. He's a little bit leaner. He's a good one because a couple things that Bucky mentioned there, true left tackle. And the left tackle, right tackle thing isn't as important anymore, but he's a true left tackle. And there aren't a lot of those in this draft. A lot of them would be right side conversions or maybe starts a guard, blah, 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 blah. And that's always going to have a lot of value. Now, it wasn't his fault or Broderick Jones's fault, but when you're at Georgia, sometimes you don't get on the field as quickly as you would have at Pitt or WVU. If you're that good of a prospect, because somebody in front of you is really good. And Broderick had that issue, didn't play a ton of college football on his draft day. And the other thing that happens to some of these teams, too, is you're winning by 50 in the 4th quarter, and you don't even play the 4th quarter.
Totally.
Right.
We saw that with Broderick.
Exactly, right. Like, my team's too good.
But I tell you what, man, his upside is undeniable, but just the question is where do you take him? In a class that has a lot of question marks like that with the offensive line group.
They do.
There's not the clear Joe Alt, wow, look at this guy, and what he can do. And he might be the biggest wild card in this conversation.
While his upside's really high, it's still not like Penei Sewell high.
Sure.
It's frankly it's not
Lane
Max
Johnson
or high. I mean, like there's some dudes that are more gifted than him. So if he hits, I don't think he'll be the best left tackle in the league. You know what I mean? Which is high praise.
Sure.
Right.
But he could certainly be top 10.
Oh, yeah. And a fixture for Colton Miller or somebody like that, for 12 years as your left tackle, which is a great feeling.
Exactly right. So those are the 5 wild cards for the draft on the offensive side of the football.
Cool.
Ty Simpson, Mike Washington Jr., Chris Brazzell, Eli Stowers, and Monroe Freeling. When we return here in hour number 2, we are going to talk about the 5 guys on the defensive side of the football. A name or two here that we've discussed already, some new names that we haven't touched on too much, and we'll do that as we continue to roll along. We are also anticipating having our buddy Chris Halicke join us live here inside the Biltmore this hour. It is The Drive on a Sunday. We are in Phoenix for the NFL League owners meetings with a bonus hour of coverage to boot. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Back inside the Biltmore here in Arizona for our ongoing league owners meeting coverage. That sounds fun to say.
How about that? Yeah.
We typically do ongoing training camp coverage, ongoing combine coverage. This is the first time I'm getting to say ongoing.
Okay. I don't think I've ever said any of those things in my life.
Well, that's because you're the analyst. I'm
Right,
the host.
right.
You know, you just I'm the one who
I don't
throws
think that way,
I'm the
right.
one who throws the alley oop. You dunk it. You know, I
Shaq, right.
set you up and you rip the slap shot. You
I like
know?
it.
But yeah, I was
Things are going well here already, though.
They are.
Things have picked up a lot since we walked in the door.
We were like the first people in here, and it was a little quiet. Now
Yeah, I
we're
think
getting
we got
some
the
moving
first
and shaking.
credentials, by the way.
I
Yeah,
think we got the very first credentials. Intrepid video extraordinaire Nate grabbed our credentials, and when he handed it to me, I was like, it hit me. This was the one credential, one thing that I haven't had yet in my 12-year career of broadcasting, football-related content.
Add it to the mix.
Because I did get Super Bowl ones when I was with the Eagles in 2018.
I have not done Super Bowl,
and so this was kind of the last. This was kind of the last thing to check the final bingo card of
it's a cool one though.
of Wes Uhler's NFL content.
You probably didn't guess you'd be there 10 years from now. You'd probably feel like you'd never get that one.
Certainly did not, and I'm happy to be here with you, Matt. And we're having some fun so far, and that will continue today, tomorrow, and Tuesday. 3 days of 3-hour shows here from Phoenix, Arizona for the league meetings. In the last segment, we talked about 5 offensive prospects in this draft who could be wild cards for everybody's big boards and how everything plays out. Now we will we will spin the block to the other side of the ball here and talk about 5 guys on defense. And Matt, number 1 to lead it off, I don't think this will surprise you, is Caleb Banks, the big defensive tackle out of Florida.
Ooh, good one. Yeah. I'm sure people view him very differently. I mean, there's not a lot of game film to go off of from this year. I should know this, but maybe even says in the write-up, he has a broken foot now that he did the combine drills with. It's like a hairline fracture. But at the time, he missed time with a broken foot. Is it the same one? Is it right, left? Is it left, right? I don't know. Doesn't mean like that foot's just always going to be broken. That's not what I'm implying.
Sure.
But there's some things on tape that are worrisome. He's a really, really bad tackler, which is unbelievable. Like, he takes this 320-pound man, throws him to the side, and, like, influences the running back or the quarterback, but doesn't tackle him or get him to the ground.
Yeah.
And I can't remember a big man having that big a discrepancy between, like, beating blocks and, like, putting people on the ground.
Like, you see the heavy hands and the violence, but then you just can't finish the play.
Because I'm sitting here hoping that you don't ask me, is that teachable? Because I have no idea. I assume it is. I mean, how
Matt,
can you
let
not
me ask
get
you
better?
a question.
Right.
Is that teachable?
I assume it is. Like if he would hang out with Cam Hayward and be like, dude, you just do this or whatever,
right.
Or a D-line coach. But don't you think the people of Florida have thought the same thing? And tackling is not something the NFL practices. I mean, you'd have to get good at it.
That's a great point.
You know what I mean? When you're not going to do it at Latrobe, you're not going to practice tackling Aaron Rodgers. And there's times, too, where – and this isn't uncommon, and this is very stereotypical, but D tackles that are crazy talented don't always have to try real hard. They've always been the biggest, baddest dude on the field.
They've been the bully on the block.
Forever.
Yeah.
Forever. And they can not be as technically sound, or I could kind of take this play off and still defeat the block or do my job. And that's kind of happens with him here and there too. But again, that's not uncommon. But again, he's ridiculously talented.
35-inch arms. I mean, just a staggering physical specimen. Over 6'6", 330 pounds. If he hits, he can hit big.
Oh, that's the thing. That's a dice roll. But if it comes up the right number, you're thrilled with it. And like any position, there are a lot of, going into free agency, there were a lot of defensive tackle needs around the league, like every position.
Sure.
But few could deal with them in free agency because free agency was so bad at D tackle.
It's a conundrum.
So he is a total wild card.
He is a total wild card. Broke his foot last year, only played in 3 games, and then had a foot injury at the combine as well. So not only is there just concerns with overall performance, but with the health too.
Yeah. I mean, is he ready for camp or, all those things too?
The testing that he did do at the combine was very impressive, and just for his size, freak athlete. Number 2 on this list on the defensive side of the football, Matt, is Malachi Lawrence, the edge rusher out of UCF.
Okay. I went out of my way for my first mock draft on Steelers.com to put him at the end of the first round, just because I haven't seen him there. And frankly, I just want to say I was the first one to do it, so I could. And I think that there's a chance that he is a top 40 pick. And this edge class has kind of all shapes and sizes. He does not seem to be talked about nearly enough. Very athletic, very violent, plays hard every snap. It wouldn't shock me if he comes off the board like early second round and people are like, that seems early. I'm like, nah, I don't think that's early. Yeah.
That's where he's kind of mocked to. But, man, I mean, 6'4.5", 250, ran a 4.5 40-yard dash.
Yeah, his testing was awesome.
Yeah, he's got that kind of elite height, weight, speed that you're looking for. And
pretty good tape too.
An intriguing one that definitely, if he works his way into the back end of the first round, I don't think would be much of a surprise.
No, it shouldn't be.
Number 3 on this list, a name we've discussed a little bit, Matt. He continues to be a popular talking point as we get closer and closer to draft day. Harold Perkins Jr., the linebacker out of LSU, potentially one of the biggest boom or bust prospects in this class.
I love that he's on this list because he's not a first, second round pick. You know, like the whole draft isn't going to change when he comes off the board. It's going to be in the 4th round or the 3rd round. But what's crazy is these way too early mock drafts. I think it's been 2 years in a row that he's been like on those lists.
Okay.
As this like undersized demon edge pass rusher. But he's way too small for that. He's 220 pounds or 210 pounds. Ran a 4.4 flat.
220.
220. Yeah. I think he bulked up to 220.
He's under 6'1".
So he's playing like off the ball linebacker now. And
yes.
People are really a defensive end by trade, playing off the ball linebacker now. But people are projecting him, which is probably way too much of a projection, to be the Emenwari type guy.
Gotcha.
Like, yeah, but he's at the end. I mean, this isn't
that's a
safety
big
turn.
It's
big
not
slot.
Kyle Lewis.
No, right, exactly. That's a 2 positions away jump, type of deal. But he's going to be awesome on special teams. He plays super hard. He's made a ton of plays at a big school. He's been in the spotlight forever. He tested great.
Real production, too.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
4 sacks, 3 interceptions, a forced fumble last year.
Yeah, right. I mean, he gets to the quarterback. He's really disruptive. Or is he just a really good college player?
That's what you got.
Might be a really good college
player.
Maybe
one of those kind of proproverbial jack of all trades, but master of none.
I think the Steelers had him in for a 30 visit.
They did.
Planning on it.
They did, yeah. According to the reports. That has been, reported. 2 more here on the defensive side of the football, both in the secondary. The first, Chris Johnson, the corner out of San Diego State. Talented technician, could be a plug-and-play starter on the perimeter. 4'4", 40 in Indianapolis, 6'1", about 195. And kind of where does he slot into that power ranking of corners, which is getting more and more interesting, not from a Steelers perspective, but just in general.
Although I think he was reportedly in for a visit,
He was. That's a great point. But Chris Johnson, Mansour Delane, Jermod McCoy, Colton Hood, there's a lot of interesting names at corner without, I think, there being the clear-cut, bona fide number 1 guy.
I think you mentioned this last week. McCoy's pro day or private work-out is still
Tuesday.
out there. Okay, I think it's coming soon.
Yep.
And that's kind of the end of...
Which I believe Tuesday is the last day you can have him.
Okay.
Yep.
But I do think
maybe
the corner,
Tennessee did that on purpose for him to give him as much time as possible.
I'm sure his agent did it, yeah. Corner pecking order is far from set, though, still. And McCoy's a wild card, but I don't think that Johnson's in competition to be first corner off the board, but can he go ahead of Cisse or Hood or somebody like that?
Yeah.
And I do think he's
can he be the 2nd or 3rd instead of the 4th or 5th?
And does he sneak into the first round? I mean, what's weird this year, too, is, picks 20 to 40 are almost all equal in terms of value, just in terms of what you're picking from. So could he end up being the 25th pick, or is he a name we're talking about as best available on day 2?
On day 2, yeah. And then last on this list, a name that we just mentioned, a local angle, Kyle Lewis.
Oh.
Listed as a safety here, played linebacker during his time at Pitt. But is a little undersized to transition there in the NFL, 5'11", and 7/8, so a little under 6 foot, 220 pounds. Can he be that dynamic, hybrid safety, sub-personnel, slot, nickel that a lot of these defensive coordinators are looking for in the modern game?
Yeah, we brought him up a lot because there's a local feel, and he's really fun to watch, and Senior Bowl practices are great for him because there's no taking on contact, and he can fly around the field, and it's just a projection. And again, it scares me this year, and this is analyst-driven, not league-driven, but doesn't mean the league won't follow, that everyone wants the Emuwari. Like I'm going to take this guy and we're going to win the Super Bowl. And,
sure.
everyone wants the big nickel, Derwin, Hamilton, I go on and on and on. And they're really, really important now. That doesn't mean everybody can do it, though. Just because you drafted one last year at the beginning of the second round does not mean all these guys are carbon copy. Oh, he did it, I can do it, But he has that profile.
He does, and he's another one. It feels like there's a lot of boom or bust potential there, that it could work out really well, or it could be the jack of all trades, doesn't really fit in, too much of a tweener to have a long-term NFL career.
I forget which one I was listening to. I forget which podcast I was listening to, but I love this term. It's like you're either a jack of all trades or you're homeless. You know what I mean? It used to be like tweener was a bad word. Like, are you a linebacker?
No, it can be
a
good thing now.
Now it's like, okay, you can do 2 or 3 things and actually do them all, or you might just be homeless and not have anywhere to lay your head.
It's all in the eye of the beholder, right?
And you got to figure out. I mean, you draft these guys, you got to say he's going to this meeting room from day one, and we're going to teach him this thing first, and then we're going to teach him this. You have to have a real blueprint for these guys.
Yes, almost kind of like, this is a more extreme example, but kind of the same conversation we had with the Travis Hunter type guy last year.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, if you draft him, especially if you trade up for him, and as expensive as he was going to be if you don't trade up.
You better not go, maybe he's a wide receiver.
We'll
maybe
figure it out when he gets here.
Back. We'll
see.
Right.
No, you better have a plan.
You better have a concrete blueprint for how you're going to get that guy ready for where you need him. Matt, one more if I could throw it. It's not on this list. So that's the list of Bucky Brooks' 10.
Yeah.
One more, though. Jacob Rodriguez, a linebacker out of Texas
Tech.
Yeah. He feels like one of those guys that has a real wide range of where could he get in at the end of the first round? Is he an early day 2 guy? Is he a mid-day 2 guy? It just feels like he's a real kind of true wild card in that sense of where he lands.
Yeah, it's a good one. I mean, could he get in there late day 1? Maybe.
Wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, just because he makes a ton of plays, tested well. I also think the linebacker pecking order after Styles is kind of interesting, too.
Yeah.
Allen from Georgia, the dude from Texas.
Yeah, Hill from Texas.
Yep. Yeah, there's a handful of them. All are talented. They could make the real strong argument to second linebacker off the board.
Certainly something that we'll be looking for here when we get to the draft, now just a few weeks away, back across the coast in our home of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Let's take our final break of hour number 2 here. We will close down hour number 2. Our buddy Chris Halicke, a regular on the program throughout the year. He's here around the corner in the media workroom. He's going to sit down with us to talk about all these things that we've discussed and more as we roll along here. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, live inside the Biltmore in Arizona. It's all part of our ongoing coverage for the 2026 NFL League meetings here on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Back inside the Biltmore in Phoenix, Arizona, closing down our second hour of coverage here on, I don't even know if it's right to call it Radio Row. It's more like a radio couple of
three
booths,
teams.
Of booths here. It's just us, the Texans, and the Jets doing live radio. But joining us now is a name and a voice that you're all familiar with if you are regular listeners to SNR and To The Drive. It's our buddy Chris Halicke of DK Pittsburgh Sports. Chris, what's up, man? Thanks for taking the time. And got to imagine you're enjoying this sunshine a little bit just like we are.
To the point where I've tried to not, but bothered my wife a little bit, who does not like the cold weather, likes the hot weather, born and raised in Texas and everything. And so she's like, "What's the weather going to be?" I'm like, "What do you think the weather's going to be?" She's just. Then I got some really angry texts and everything.
I was just say, you two are a little younger than me. You're hasn't been married as long. You haven't been fathers as long and whatnot. Really, longer than I thought. But I've learned quickly, don't take pictures of the dinner that the Steelers bought you that's like surf and turf, or send it home when they're eating steakums, or don't send, the weather here couldn't be better, blah, blah, blah. Nobody's happy for you back home.
It's very much true.
So you're saying the picture of the sunshine and the palm tree that I sent my wife this morning, that one might get me the doghouse when we get back on Wednesday?
Chances are she's not like, "Oh, I'm so happy Wes is having a great time." Right, while I'm here with the 2 kids.
Chris, let's get into it, man. Plenty that we want to discuss with you. A lot of different rule proposals, bylaw proposals. That's kind of the meat and potatoes of what's going on here the next few days. What stands out to you? What do you think is the most intriguing thing on the docket?
It sounds kind of boring to me, but maybe it's just because the practicality of it. right now, the way things are, when somebody gets placed on IR before the season, they have to miss 4 games. And you're not allowed to return them to practice until after those 4 games are gone. There's a proposal on the table to allow that player to have their 21-day window opened after, I think, the first game, so that they could then practice.
We didn't touch on that one.
While still going through those 4 games that they have to miss.
Interesting.
And that way, if they are going to miss those 4 games, they've already been practicing, and then they can make that decision, hey, okay, they're at the end of their 21-day window, we're going to go ahead and activate them, and then they can play in the next game. So it's not like 4 games.
So how does it sit now? I'm a little confused.
Well, because right now it's 4 games no matter what. Like,
okay.
you're
Doesn't matter
out.
when you got hurt.
You can't go back to practice or anything. You're out for 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, when guys then first get back on the practice field, they're not just immediately they're recovering from an injury.
Sure.
So there's a ramp up that has to happen, which is why there's a 21-day window. So, like, in theory, they're out for a minimum of 4 games, but they really might miss 6 or 7. So this way, especially if it's an injury where you're like, hey, we know we're not going to have him for the first 4 games, but there's a really good chance that we can have him back for week 5 or our 5th game. And then he can do 3 whole weeks of practicing in that process right now of being out for those 4 games. That's not the way it is right now.
Okay.
So that, to me,
the way you propose it seems like that's an obvious yes.
That's what I would think.
Yeah. What's the
practicality of it makes so much sense. So that's why, like, it's not one of the like grabbier rule or bylaw proposals or anything like that, but it's the one that intrigued me because I'm like, dude, why isn't it like this already?
Yeah, so why did it take this long? Yeah. What's the downside to
that? That one kind of stood out to me. There's a few other ones, but that one kind of stood out to me.
Okay. Are you in favor or not of being able to trade draft picks 5 years in advance?
I'm not really a fan of it.
We didn't like it at all.
I'm not a fan of it.
We didn't like it one bit.
I worry that it would get too NBA-ish, where you would get halfway through the season and a third, 40% of your league would already clearly be punting on the future.
And just watching the lesser product from a lot of teams.
I don't like it. I think 3 years out is a pretty. I think that's about as far as it should go. Mm-hmm. So no, I'm not a fan of that at all. I'm trying to think. Like my mind's blanking on some of the other ones, but yeah, that was another one that's kind of fun. The Steelers' proposal of making what the thing last year permanent.
Explain the behind the scenes and kind of the logistics of that too.
What do you know about that one?
So the negotiating window is funny because it's like it opens and like teams can then talk with players' agents, but this way you get more access to the player. And
that's kind of what we thought.
Yeah, okay, you get more access to
you cut out the middleman.
Yeah, and so and then that again, that's what they did last year, or it's what they've done like this year because of what was passed last year. And so, but it was just on a 1-year trial basis, and so now they want to make it permanent. Again, with the fact that it was voted in, and I haven't heard anything about like this went terribly. This is like so I would think that's another slam dunk. But we'll see whenever the owners get together and vote on it. But I think that's another one that's pretty interesting.
I couldn't figure out if 5 was a big number or a little number though. That the Steelers presented you could do with 5 different players.
I think so. I mean.
Maybe it's a good place to start and go from there. Next year we might be talking about let's bump it to 8, whatever.
Yeah, and then you can always adjust. I think that's what like the whole point of these like bylaw proposals and rule proposals is sometimes you started off on a trial basis, and then if the trial goes well, then let's vote to make it a permanent rule. But then that rule can continue to be amended. Okay, that's too many players, let's pull it back. Or hey, we still don't have access to enough players, so let's bump it to 7 or whatever it is the next time. So I think that's why like these meetings, while like they don't grab a lot of headlines unless there's something like the tush push being talked about, which is not being talked about this year.
Dynamic kickoff.
Yeah, we were talking,
right.
Yeah.
And there is quite a bit on the dynamic kickoff this year too. So, like these meetings are productive for sure, and definitely helps shape the future of the game.
Oh, definitely.
Chris Halicke with us here on the drive. Chris, what are you hearing about? Matt and I were having some conversations, starting to get a little worried that we're going to have a replacement referee situation and some of the chaos that ensued in 2012, a repeat of that here. What are you hearing on that front? Do you share our concerns?
There's definitely concern whenever the two sides aren't talking. There's always concern about that. For those who are baseball fans, I mean,
lockout. You start,
It's almost an inevitability at this point because the two sides aren't talking. There's and then you go to this with between the league and the referees, and if they're not talking, that's never a good sign. But what else are you going to do? Like, you know, this is part of what negotiating is, and sometimes, you know, certain sides will do certain things to get what they want out of it. And right now, it's going to be who's going to blink first. The good thing from the referee's perspective is they saw, like everybody saw, how poor they went last time. The referees didn't forget that, and fans haven't forgotten that.
It's been almost 15 years, but I think we all remember it vividly.
And there's going to be, you know, potentially, if he re-signs, there's going to be one member of the Steelers, if Aaron Rodgers does come back, who will remember that
he
very,
was front and
very
center.
well.
That's
Oh,
right.
I didn't think of that
Good
part.
call by
Okay.
you.
Yeah.
So, he will that will be something fun to talk about if it gets to that. Hopefully it doesn't, but when the two sides aren't talking, that's never fun.
So speaking of Rodgers, it's kind of a two-part question here.
Yeah.
If he decides he doesn't want to play football or doesn't want to play for the Steelers again, do you think they pivot to a Cousins or a Carr type move?
Not as a starter. Not as an unquestioned. The day you sign the contract, you're automatically QB1. I don't.
You think you think? Okay, well, what do you think would happen? Do you think they would even go down either one of those type of roads?
What I would think is they would try to bring in a veteran to go along with what
Maybe
they have
a name
now.
like that?
Yes.
Okay, that has started games.
And then it would be something along the lines of, okay, you have that veteran signing, you have Mason Rudolph, you have Will Howard, and potentially you also have another quarterback that's drafted.
That's my two-part question, too, is do you think they draft a mid-round guy?
Yes. I would lean toward them taking a quarterback in this class, Rodgers or not. That's what I am leaning toward right now, based off.
I've
of
really
the
been on
things
the
that I've
fence
heard.
about this. Yeah, not on what I've heard of just what I would do.
But if Rodgers is not part of the equation, I think he will be. But if he's not, I think what you'll have by the time training camp opens in Latrobe, you'll have a legitimate quarterback competition going on. That's what I think you'll
Okay.
see. I don't think anybody's
Maybe
going to
a
be.
three-person quarterback competition?
Could be four.
No, okay.
Really?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, because you'll bring in four quarterbacks. Now, I would think that whoever would be drafted, whether it be Ty Simpson, maybe if it's Ty Simpson, you draft him in the first round, he'd get a good look. But if it's more of a mid-round guy, if it's Garrett Nussmeier, Drew Aller, like Cole Payton, like that type of guy, no, I don't think he's going to be front and center to be the starter right away. But you give him a look, you give him a chance. You know, I think Will Howard would get a chance. Mason Rudolph having the experience he has, and then obviously if you bring in somebody else like a Kirk Cousins or something, like they'll come in and they'll have a chance to compete. And they'll probably have the leg up, but I don't think anything is guaranteed at that point.
So along those lines, Rodgers, Carr, Cousins, whoever. Let's say there's an old guy, and there's a new guy, a third-round pick, you know, Nussmeier, or you know, I like Cole Payton, whatever. Howard's going to make the team.
Yep.
That seems to me Rudolph would be the guy that's on the outside looking in.
I would think so.
Yeah,
At the
and
same
maybe you
time.
can flip him for a seventh-round pick or something.
Maybe.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, because you're not keeping four quarterbacks. You're not the Cleveland Browns. So you're keeping you're keeping three quarterbacks, and if it has to be, I think, and really when you're talking about the future of the quarterback position with this franchise, you don't have that guy to go get in the first round this year. Like, you have all this draft capital. You'd love to be able to go trade up and go get a guy. Well, that guy doesn't exist.
Right.
So what you have to do is, for this year, you still have to try to find something for the future. That means dedicating resources to developing Will Howard. That means possibly also drafting a quarterback, and not just drafting him in the third or fourth round, whatever it is, and then just cutting him unless he just goes to training camp and it just bombs.
Well, he'd have to be terrible,
Like,
yeah.
Yes, like absolutely terrible. Be like, gosh, this is already a
just
bad draft
missed,
pick. I don't think that would happen.
But that's not the plan when you pick him in the third round.
No,
That's
it's
for him
not.
to stink.
It's not. So you could realistically, and from a Will Howard perspective, it almost makes sense for him to go from, okay, he had his redshirt year as a rookie. You know, I mean, he was active one game when Mason Rudolph was a starter in Chicago. Didn't play any snaps, obviously. Okay, well, now this time, if you want to take a step forward, now maybe he ends up being the actual backup. Like, if Aaron Rodgers does come back, and
I'm hoping Howard by cut-down day is a solid 2.
that's what you would hope.
Yeah,
and that's what
I don't think that's asking too much.
No,
That'd be best case scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then you have, okay, then at that point your third could be if you draft a guy, would be that guy who would then be what Will Howard was last year. He's if everybody's healthy, he's never active. He's the emergency quarterback.
Yeah.
Maybe he's active for a game or two as the backup. If Rodgers is
or
injured,
even he's a Cole Payton and you have a Taysom Hill package for him or something.
Something like
weird
that.
like that. Yeah.
But then you'd have to activate him. You'd have to have 3 active quarterbacks that day. But yeah, I think when you're talking about the future of the quarterback position, you have to start dedicating resources to developing. And I think the fact that Mike McCarthy is now the head coach, you're in a better position to do that than you were in the past.
Okay.
A few more minutes here with Chris Halicke on The Drive. Chris, we were kind of in the first hour kicking around things that, other than rules proposals and specific bylaws, things like that could be discussed by Mike McCarthy, by Omar Khan. Do you expect any type of clarity on Broderick Jones potentially this week, or are we going to just have to wait and see in the summertime on his health and status?
I don't think we're going to get anything solid on that this week.
I'm sure people will ask, though.
Oh, no, he'll be. I mean, McCarthy will be asked about it. Omar will be asked about it because McCarthy will talk with Pittsburgh reporters tomorrow. Omar, I think, Tuesday.
Yes.
So both guys are going to get questions about Broderick. I don't think we're going to get any clarity. And the reason why isn't necessarily because they're trying to keep things under wraps or anything like that. This is just such it's an unpredictable injury. I mean, Asante Samuel Jr. had his own fusion thing. He's able to come back and play. But then I remember Ryan Watts.
Yeah.
Final game
right.
of the Detroit, the preseason when he was drafted, he has that stinger near the end of the game in that preseason finale in Detroit. He retired.
Yeah.
Like it
has ended careers.
It has, and that's why when you think about this, and you think about from the Steelers' perspective on this, like they don't want to just discard him. Like he was a first-round pick.
Still young.
Yeah, he's still young.
Very talented.
You have a 5th-year option decision to make, and with they have to know if they're going to pay him that kind of money for the 5th-year option. So if they
I can't imagine they pick up 5th-year option.
If they
I don't know how they could.
Yeah, I would lean toward not picking it up right now.
I mean, if his level of play was a lot higher, and this injury's out there, then I think it becomes more of a debate.
I would think so too.
And Cook didn't exist.
But even if let's just say Broderick was playing at a really high level, there weren't the bumps and bruises that he's dealt with and the ups and downs that he's dealt with. That kind of an injury that could possibly be a career ender, you're then literally handcuffing yourself because it's a guaranteed money. It's a full cap hit. It's what, $20 million, something around that.
Yeah,
it's
big.
That's a big chunk.
Yeah.
So
I think the answer is no.
I don't think they do. And
May 1st is the deadline, by the way.
Yeah. So it's
about a month.
There's a little bit of time, but I don't think that they're going to end up picking up that option just because I don't think they're going to know. I really again. I don't think this is a situation where they know what's going on with him. They're keeping up. They are still trying to figure this out, and then he's still recovering. He's still going through it, and they're probably talking with him and going through this entire process with him, and they just don't know.
Got to wait and see.
Yeah, and that's a really unfortunate situation to be in for all parties involved.
So therefore, and other reasons, I look at left side of the O-line as probably the second biggest need. I don't know if we even have to rank them. And I would not object at all to taking a 1st and 3rd round offensive lineman or a 2nd and 4th round offensive lineman. I don't think taking 2 is crazy. And I don't think a 1st round offensive lineman is crazy.
Yeah, I can see it happening. I think the way the 1st round goes, I don't think Vega from Penn State will be there at 21. If he's still there somehow at 16 or 17, I would think long and hard about trying to trade up to get him. He's that type of a player. I'm not gonna put this kind of expectation on him or anything like that. But the first person I think of when it comes to Vega is David DeCastro in terms of what he could provide. Possibly he could be a stable force on the interior of the line for a decade. That's what you would draft him to be. He's talented enough to do it. He's athletic enough to do it. He's a very, very good player. I would think about that long and hard, but I also think that they really need to address wide receiver as well.
Sure.
So, no, I could see that happening, but I also do know this. If they don't, they really, really like Spencer Anderson, and they really like Dylan Cook.
Mm-hmm.
It would not surprise me
I
at
think
all.
Hoffman's not a throwaway at all either.
I don't think he's a throwaway at all.
Yeah.
I think
it's
you'll
a really
see a
nice
legitimate
pickup.
competition between Hoffman and Anderson for left guard if they don't draft a guard higher up in the draft. I think you see a legitimate competition in training camp between those two guys, but they really do like Spencer Anderson a lot. And congratulations to Spencer, brother. He just got married. So
Yep.
yeah,
Did he?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Chris Halicke, DK Pittsburgh Sports. Great stuff as always. One of our regulars here on The Drive, albeit this time about 3,000 miles away from home.
Dude.
What, 2,500 miles away? 3,000 sounds better. We'll stick with that. Chris, thanks for taking the time, man. Enjoy yourself this week.
Yeah, we'll do, man. Thanks for having me, guys.
2 hours in the books. We've got the bonus hour when we return on the other side. We'll get to some of your tweets. We'll get to some more of the topics here from the owners' meetings. All the moving and shaking inside the Biltmore in Phoenix, Arizona. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It is The Drive, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Bonus hour live from the Biltmore in Arizona. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, all part of our ongoing NFL annual league meetings coverage here. That's a little bit of a mouthful. I gotta be careful with that one. We will be here today, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday with bonus hours for you every single day, and we're kicking off our first day of coverage here. Well, first bonus hour here. On a beautiful Sunday in Phoenix, Arizona. Matt, I wanted to take a look. Just posted on.
Super quick, if you don't mind.
I was going to say, you were looking at me like you had something on your mind.
Yeah, just something. Just chatting with Chris stuck with me a little bit. Because I've been on the fence of should they use a mid-round pick on a quarterback or not. But we know they have the selections, 3rd, 4th round, whatever. We know they've done their homework. People look too much into that. You should always do homework on quarterbacks.
Absolutely.
And you should do homework on everybody. But
because it might be a Justin Fields type situation where a couple years later he's available.
Right, or you're playing against them, or whatever information on those guys, or you fall in love with them and you do want to take them, whatever. And frankly, I'm never against taking another quarterback because you might hit on Purdy or whatever. So you don't. What is that? You miss every shot you don't try, or whatever. I get that.
I always think back to the year that they were the Redskins at the time, now Commanders, drafted RG3, and then Kirk Cousins in like the 3rd round, and everyone was like, "What are you doing?" And he had a much better career.
Yeah, and so we kept Chris a long time, but we could have kept him longer. And I got the feeling that he's really getting the vibe that they will take a quarterback.
That's
in
what
the
it seemed
mid-rounds.
like.
Right.
He seemed pretty confident in that assertion.
And frankly, I don't have a problem with it, but I just keep going. It's just bouncing around in my brain a lot. Is it the right move or not?
You have 12 draft picks.
You have 12 draft picks, right? If you only use 10, want them on a quarterback? Okay. I get it.
Hey. I kind of ascribe to your just general roster building philosophy, team building logic that almost every year, 50% of the years, you should be taking a quarterback and an offensive lineman.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to live. Most years you should take one or both.
And that
of those
doesn't mean
positions.
in the 1st or 2nd round.
No,
but if those guys hit, they're worth their weight in
so
gold,
important,
man.
Right.
How many times did the Packers trade away a quarterback during the Brett Favre era? That's something that they used to do all the time.
Develop guys like crazy.
The Patriots used to do that, with the Garoppolos and the Brissetts and those guys under Brady.
And we just touched on it, but any way you cut it, that's not great news for Mason Rudolph.
No, it's not.
Because Howard's going to be on the team, and the starter's going to be on the team, and a mid-round draft pick is probably going to be on the team, and that's that.
Then all of a sudden, there's only so many seats on the Titanic, right?
Yeah, and Rudolph is up after this year too, and he probably has a little bit of trade value.
Yeah. He belongs on an active roster on game days in the NFL.
Plus, you get to camp, and the Bears have an injury or something. Yeah.
Absolutely. Matt, Aaron Schatz, who we're a fan of, put out on ESPN.com today his wide receiver projections, rankings, and comps.
Okay.
And this is something that I want to run through with you because we're a fan of Aaron's work.
And
it's a position group that
one of these guys could be a Steeler.
One of these guys, I think, in all likelihood, one, maybe even two, will be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Number 1 on his big board is Mekhi Lemon out of USC. And his comp is Sammy Watkins.
I don't see the comp.
That's interesting to me. That's also
Yeah.
that's a little bit of an underwhelming wide receiver 1.
Yeah, Watkins was a superstar prospect coming out of Clemson.
He sure
if
was.
You remember. That was a loaded wide receiver class, and he was wide receiver 1.
And he had a nice NFL career, but
Yeah.
wasn't a superstar.
And had some injuries.
Yeah.
I just think he's a different style. Now, again, I have great respect for Aaron's work. Maybe he's looking at this through an analytic lens as opposed to a all-22 lens. But they win in different ways. Watkins was, frankly, a little more Jamar Chase-liked. But, I mean, just the way he played, especially on his best days, which were really, really high. Lemon, to me, is more slot, more technical, tougher. I understand why Lemon's number 1 on his list, but I also don't think Lemon would be a top 12 pick most years. Yeah.
His list is pretty crazy here, and that's why I wanted to go through
Okay.
it, because number 1
I love
is
hearing a different perspective.
same. Number 1 is Mekhi Lemon. Number 2 is Omar Cooper Jr. out of Indiana with Justin Jefferson as his comp.
You know me. That's like the Jim Brown quote. Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
exactly
right.
right. Well, this quarterback's going to be the next Tom Brady.
Yeah, but better. Faster.
You know, that edge rusher,
right,
he reminds me a lot of Myles Garrett.
Right.
Dipped in TJ Watt.
A little mix of Lawrence Taylor. I mean, style of play, I can get that a little bit with Cooper. I mean, coming out
That's
of
kind of what he's saying.
remember, coming out of the LSU, Jefferson falls to the middle of the first round because he's, quote, slot only. Well, he quickly proved not to be.
Yes.
Much like JSN and Puka and Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I don't even know that Cooper should be lumped in with those guys as slot only. I could see the argument from being wide receiver 2. I don't see the comp, though.
Number 3 is Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State. Mike Evans is the comp.
I don't
It's
see
another
that either.
like comping him to a future Hall
I
of
know,
Famer,
that's
which
also
is
pretty steep,
which
right.
is very, very difficult.
I like a lot of things Tyson does, but he doesn't play super big. He does win above the rim some, but he's got real short arms. He's not really a long levered guy, especially from a catch radius standpoint, which Evans absolutely is. You throw it anywhere and he hauls it in. I do see Tyson potentially as the number 3 receiver in the class. He wouldn't be mine. I'd have him a little lower, and I doubt Aaron's factoring in the injury history too. Who knows?
Denzel Boston, number 4.
Okay.
Andre Johnson, Corin Robinson. Those are two different.
Wow,
those are
very
two
different.
different types there.
Okay.
But big, 6'4", over 210 pounds, toughness, ball skills, more so than necessarily speed.
Yeah.
And just pure
That's
athletic
true.
ability. So that makes sense from that when you kind of view it through that lens.
I'm glad he threw Corin Robinson in there too. I mean, Andre Johnson's also a Hall of Famer and was a total superstar
Yes.
as well. So somewhere in between. Yeah. Okay.
I like this one, Carnell Tate at 5, that's the lowest we've seen him, I think, by far.
I think he's definitely going wide receiver 1.
AJ Green is kind of the historical comparison. That I can definitely see.
Yeah, style play. I get that. Green's faster. Green's more fluid. Green's more special. Green's like the first pick first receiver off the board almost any year he comes out. I don't think Tate is, but I see the downfield, the length, the ball skills, that type of stuff. Yes.
He has got, 8 guys rated as first-round grades.
Okay.
Number 6 is Casey Concepcion, who Matt is rapidly becoming a fan of. His comps, Michael Thomas and T. Higgins.
Okay. Both those guys are bigger than Concepcion. Higgins plays bigger in terms of going up and get the ball, and I think you've seen him in person. And he's
crazy
super
impressive
from
crazy
everybody says.
impressive.
I don't love any of these comps, to be honest with you. I mean, Thomas is a physical slant, not as good after the catch, not as explosive as Concepcion. None of those guys have legit punt return ability like he does. He gets a lot of handoffs. I mean, I think there's more to his game. Not that he's better than those guys, but I mean, there's a different style.
Number 7 is Zachariah Branch out of Georgia, Nico Collins and Justin Hunter being the comps.
I don't get these comps at all. Zach Branch is 5'8". Nico's 6'5".
That one surprised me, too.
Justin Hunter's 6'5".
This one surprised me the most because of the size difference.
I mean, I wonder, again, I have such respect for Aaron. I wonder if he's just putting
from an analytical
numbers
perspective
into the computer and it pops out a similar profile.
I think so. That's what it's starting to
this is
look
what
like.
they did in college, or this is where they lined up, or because their styles of play aren't at all similar.
So he says players who are similar in their playmaker statistics, not necessarily physical traits.
Okay,
So I should have probably that's on me. I apologize. I should have probably stated that from the beginning.
Just knowing how he operates as a true analytic guy, that makes some sense.
And then number 8 on this list is Chris Brazzell II, who we've discussed plenty out of Tennessee, Rashae Caldwell, and Anthony Gonzalez, the kind of historical comparisons there.
Which aren't super kind. I mean, those guys were first and second round picks. They didn't do a lot in the league. But I would imagine they were sparse usage or strange usage in college, which is exactly how Brazzell is.
And then he's got, let's see here, 2 more names on this list, Matt.
Okay.
So those are the first round graded guys. 2 more names on this list: a day 2 sleeper and a day 3 sleeper. I think you'll really like the day 2 sleeper. It's Elijah Surratt, the other wide receiver out of Oklahoma that I think you and I have really started to warm up to.
Be a professional.
Anthony Miller and Kevin Lockett, the historical comps.
Okay.
15 touchdowns last year for the Hoosiers, 830 receiving yards, 65 catches.
Yeah, I mean, a go-to, trustworthy, move the chains, tough guy, wide receiver type guy, right, yeah. I'm a fan.
And then day 3 sleeper, C.J. Daniels out of Miami. We haven't really discussed him much.
No, I need to do more work on him, but he's starting to get – his name keeps getting thrown around more and more on these articles.
Ty Montgomery and Jalen Hurd being the historical comps here.
Okay. Those guys got carries and did a lot of other things than receiver.
Yes. And then he basically throws in that in this conversation a bonus as well too, that he really likes tight end Kenyon Sadiq.
Okay.
And basically says he thinks he's got a chance to be the next Travis Kelce type elite NFL tight end.
Again, huge comp, but I mean,
totally.
Yeah. I mean, but I see what he's saying. I mean, that this guy's going to be a first-round pick, maybe even earlier than some suspect, and get the ball in his hands, and he does a lot of good stuff. Right.
Dynamic
playmaker.
Makes a lot of sense. It does make a lot of sense. I'm trying to see because he's got his whole list here. So. After Surratt in the second round, Jeremy Bernard ranked high, Jacoby Lane out of USC. We haven't really talked about him too much.
No, there's some things about his game I dislike.
Okay.
He's tall. I think he was highly recruited, big profile school, all that good stuff, but doesn't play with a lot of physicality and grit that I've seen. And to me, that's, with all these receivers, that would, I'm not saying cancel him off a list, but I'd rather play against him than with him.
Antonio Williams out of Clemson.
I like him a lot.
Who's an intriguing one.
Yeah.
I'm starting to like him too. Malachi Fields, who we've cooled off on a little bit.
Yeah.
You don't see the separation pop on his tape,
thing,
and
right.
that's a tough way to live in the NFL.
He does play big and has some physicality. It's just he's not open a lot. That doesn't mean you can't throw him the ball, but
a couple more second-round grades that he has on guys as we wrap this up. Deshaun Streebling, who we haven't talked about much.
I need to do more work on him, too.
Ole Miss.
Big tester.
Yeah. Ted Hurst, who you really like.
Yeah.
Chris Bell out of Louisville. Skylar Bell.
I'm really intrigued by Chris Bell, too.
If he had a clean bill of health,
yes.
he would be, I think, much higher on these lists. Skylar Bell out of UConn, so he's got the Bells back-to-back there.
I think both could be – or both are going on day 2.
And then Aaron Anderson out of LSU, who we haven't discussed much
I think he's a smaller,
he's
super dynamic.
5'8".
Yeah, he's real little, I don't even say Austin, but punt returner, shifty, little guy.
He's only a junior. He's young, and he does have speed to burn.
Oh, yeah.
5'8", man.
That's tough, yeah.
There's
not a lot of them
there's
in the
being
league
a little
right now,
undersized,
right.
and then there's being
and he's not
5'8".
thick, too. Even Burks and the Oklahoma kid, both those dudes have a little bit of thickness to them and can take hits and are stronger build. He's lean.
Yes, correct. Burks is the Oklahoma kid. Deion Burks.
Yeah, I get him and the names mixed up. Him and Georgia.
Him and
the other short bugger.
Oh, Zachariah
Branch. Yeah. Both those guys at least have some physicality to them, or stiff breeze doesn't knock them over.
The funniest part is by the time we get to the point where we have all these guys' names down, alma maters down, all that stuff.
Oh, they're gonna end up on a new team.
Then they end up on a different team, and we're like back to square one. Let's take a break here. We have gotten a ton of tweets We've got a bonus hour here to get to plenty of those. We'll roll through some of the good questions, owners meeting related, Steelers related, draft related. You know where to get at us if you want to get involved. He's at Williamson NFL. I'm at Wesley Uhler. We'll get to some of your questions, comments, concerns, and reactions as we roll along here in hour number 3. We are live inside the Biltmore in Phoenix, Arizona, all part of our league meetings coverage on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. It is The Drive, live from the Owners Meetings, Annual League Meetings 2026 edition here in Phoenix, Arizona. Special Sunday show for Matt and I. Will also be broadcasting here Monday and Tuesday before we head home on Wednesday. We're enjoying the sunshine, enjoying the moving and shaking here at the Biltmore. We're
things will really pick up tomorrow.
I was just going to say, anticipating Monday and Tuesday, where tomorrow Mike McCarthy will speak to the Pittsburgh media.
Okay.
And then on Tuesday,
that's around lunchtime, right?
That is around lunch. It's a lunch,
yeah.
Yes. And then Tuesday, he'll do his breakfast with the full media gambit.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll
with
also
15 other AFC coaches.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Omar Khan and Mr. Rooney will both also speak to the Pittsburgh media on Tuesday. So
Great.
McCarthy Monday, all three on Tuesday. And also, Matt,
we'll make sure you guys get all the highlights of that stuff.
Absolutely. And we've got our outstanding video crew, boots on the ground here with Jason, Nate, and Emil, and they've told us, they've assured us that they will be sharing some audio from some of these availability sessions as well, that we'll be able to bring you good people out there in Steeler Nation. So looking forward to it. I've also been told there's a pretty exquisite dinner coming our way tomorrow night that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, a little get-together you'll like.
Brought my finest duds for the occasion. Matt was telling me, Matt's like, I got to do some shopping across the street. There's a Ralph Lauren store across the street from the hotel.
Over there real
Matt
quick
was
after this, right?
Matt was like, I might have to get some new pants for the party tomorrow night. Got to be looking good. Got to be sharp. Matt, speaking of sharp, Warren Sharp putting out a tweet that I wanted to run by you here before we get to the other tweets from the people. You and I have talked, we've referenced in the past, I forget the exact name for it, but it's like the draft compensation value formula chart, where a first overall pick is worth this much, and a second round 42nd pick is worth that much. Just the overall total draft value in what you have in a class and where you're drafting.
Okay. Yeah, right, exactly. So real quick, Jimmy Johnson's like well known for, he put together the Jimmy Johnson trade value chart. You know, like if I'm going to trade the 10th pick overall, I need 17 overall and 38.
Yes.
And that adds up, and it's not gospel, but it's, you know, a good thing to go off. And they're like, well, how about you're trading up for quarterback, throw me an extra 4th round pick and we'll make the deal. Okay. And it really made trades, I think, more easy, frankly. I mean, we can all kind of go off this. We don't have to believe it as gospel. But then there's been that was a long time ago. Jimmy Johnson was the head coach a long time ago. So there have been some analytic folks that have taken it to another level, and there's some other draft trade value charts. You probably could just type those words into Google and you find it. So I think this is interesting, and I'm sure, I'm not looking at the tweet, but I'm interested in it. I'm sure Sharp is adding up everyone's current picks right now
and ranking them,
and who has the most draft capital. The Steelers have the most picks.
Yes, they do, and they have the 7th most valuable capital of this class. And Matt, I'm sure this won't surprise you, but that is by far the best that the Steelers have had in 25 years.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, they're always so successful.
Exactly right.
Right.
No losing seasons in that time period.
Not a ton of extra picks over those years.
We all know the drill. Yeah, it's not like they're trading guys in the middle of the season for future firsts and seconds and things like that.
They haven't had a ton of comp picks over the years.
The last time the Steelers had top 10 draft value in a year was the year 2000. 25 years ago when they were ranked 6th. Now they're 7th. Matt, last year, 30th, 2024, 16th, 2023, 13th, 2022, 20th, 32nd, 15th, 20th, 21st, 30th, 20th, 16th, 15th. So they haven't even really been particularly close. They haven't even been 11 or 12 at any point in the last. They've been much closer to 30 than they have the top 10. but this is the first time that they have top 10 draft capital, 7th overall in the league, 7 total picks in the first 4 rounds. Really, really helps that.
Oh, that's
but that
massive.
that caught my eye because it's a real opportunity for this organization, for Omar Khan, for Andy Weidel, for Mike McCarthy, for everybody involved.
What if you get 3 or 4 starters out of it?
Exactly right. To set yourself up for the next decade.
And it's cheap for the extension of their contracts and all that stuff as well. No, it's absolutely massive to me. The draft is going to be really fun for this team.
It's going to be a blast, and especially when you add in the wrinkle that it's on our home turf.
Oh, by the way, but yeah, total coincidence.
Oh, by the way. Let's get to
They're
some of these.
They're going to get a couple good players out of this.
They
are.
They better.
Yeah, they better.
They absolutely
right.
better. All right, let's get to some tweets here as we get into the bottom half of this bonus hour. Smooth Dave is going to lead us off here. He says, does the way that things went down with George Pickens kind of change the Steelers' mindset in some of the character conversations that you guys have been having? Seems like there has been a conscious effort to bring in higher character players as of late, and would that also potentially eliminate guys like a Tyreek Hill, like a Brandon Ayuk, like a Christian Wilkins from potentially being part of the conversation?
I don't know.
It's a good question by
Yeah,
Smooth
it's
Dave.
a great question. It's a hard one to answer because the way it was phrased makes it sound like they've never cared about character in the past, and that's just not true. I mean, we know that as much as any team in the league, they'll scratch people with serious character concerns or indiscretions or whatever off their list. I mean, they don't have a history of drafting people with a criminal record or they put their hands on women or things of that nature.
Yes.
And Pickens didn't do any of those things either. I mean, let's be fair to that young man too. I mean, I don't know that he's a bad person. I mean, those things too. And it's always a hard thing to comment on. How do you fit in the team dynamic and all that kind of stuff. It's always stressed with this team, and some teams more than most. But I think this team, as much as any, I can't imagine being in the Tyreek Hill conversation.
No.
And probably never considered that.
No. Especially off the injury and his age and everything, and yeah.
Wilkins is such an odd one, and it's really hard to find details, which makes you think the worst. But
at least Patrick Graham will know those details.
Yeah, and they have signed a defensive lineman since then, so they're probably done just with signing defensive linemen anyway. Who was the last name?
The last one was Wilkins. It was Ayuk, and it was Hill.
Ayuk.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's no reason to think Ayuk's a bad guy. He's just not getting along with the Niners.
He just clearly there's some friction there in that relationship.
And a lot of it, the short answer to those questions is they've traded for a veteran receiver and they signed a defensive tackle, so they're probably not going to be in the market for any of those guys.
Couple good questions.
There was once interest in Ayuk.
Absolutely.
I don't think he all of a sudden turned into a bad guy.
No, and he's still relatively young in the conversation. He's still got a few years to go until he hits 30. A couple good questions here from Jeff. Jeff tweets us and says, do you think we will see a 50-50 split with Washington and Freiermuth this season, or do you see one of those guys being featured? I think the Steelers will draft a tight end. The question is just what round.
I think they will as well.
Agreed.
I mean, there's a spot.
Day 3, I feel like.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Maybe as early as the 4th round, something like that. Again, really good tight end draft. A lot to pick from. I think it'll look a lot different than Connor Hayward. Connor Hayward looked like a fullback.
Yes.
This guy's going to look like a tight end. He'll be 6'4", 6'5", something like that. I'm curious about the Freiermuth Washington conversation.
Same. That's one thing that when we get to training camp, we'll be very, very keeping an eye on.
I hope, I like both players a lot. I hope one isn't the first-string guy, and this is the second-string guy. And just looking at McCarthy's career, Freiermuth's style is more his style, going back to Jermichael Finley and Ferguson, and a lot of guys are detached from the formation more than Washington's style. But guys like Washington don't come along very often.
No, they do not.
And
they don't grow on trees.
No, and I think he is a really special player. And I think it was the last time Omar was at the podium, said, hey, I'll take 22 of those guys, and we want him not going anywhere. So they definitely have big plans for him. Maybe McCarthy's going to consider more 12 personnel than he has in the past. I would think that's probably in the cards, that you play 10% more than he's used to with both of them on the field. And maybe it's a little bit situational. Maybe it's just somewhat of a competition. Who's better at the time? I don't want Washington as a number 2. like a true backup. Like that's not using him to the best of his ability.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I think there's a marriage between the both and their skill sets that you can really keep defenses on their toes and tough to game plan for.
Yeah, I mean, I often say about players the opponents love when you put on the field. Washington's the opposite.
The complete opposite. They
go,
oh no,
I'm not used to playing against somebody like this, and it's not fun lining up against Andre the Giant.
This big, this athletic, Andre the Giant. Unless you're Hulk Hogan and you could just pick him up and slam him. Last one from Jeff, and this is a good point too. And we had a little conversation about this in the first hour of the show. With the new NFLPA president now in place, do you guys expect the 18-game schedule conversation to be more emphasized and talked about during the owners' meetings?
I don't know. I'm sure it'll be talked about.
That's a good point about the new president being in place now, and seems like it could really start to ramp up if it's the right time.
So legal stuff and contracts and some of these things we talk about while we're here aren't as easy to talk about for me as on the field.
They're not our strength.
Yeah. I think that it's possible you don't have to wait till the next CBA to install an 18-game schedule if both players and owners agree on it. And maybe having a new president could kickstart that a little more. I guess it's a good question.
It is a good
question.
Great
answer. Yeah,
it's certainly something we'll be keeping an eye on, and if that is the case here over the next 2 days, we will relay that information.
I mean, we know it's not going to happen this year. Maybe next year at this time, we're talking about how that's in play.
Ian tweets and says, "Is there an NFL owner that you guys have always wanted to meet?" I don't think so. You know who my answer?
Irsay was pretty interesting.
I was just going to say my answer would have been Jim Irsay.
I would say that would be your pick with the rock and roll memorabilia and
he was always kind of my spirit animal in the sense of if I had money like that, I'd do the same thing.
Okay.
I'd buy a bunch of Jimi Hendrix and Jerry Garcias and Beatles and all the John Lennon and all these old legendary musicians. He had a bunch of their guitars and memorabilia.
He recently sold the whole thing, and it was for way more than I would have ever guessed.
Derek Trucks bought one of Jerry Garcia's guitars for $12.5 million from the estate.
Wow.
Zach Bryan, who is the country artist, bought the original On the Road scroll, which is the famous beatnik hippie novel that was written by Jack Kerouac in the 50s. He bought the original print of it. So those things
Jim
just went on.
All those things.
All those things. John Lennon stuff, Jerry Garcia stuff,
I knew it was
Hendrix
extensive,
stuff.
but when I saw the money that it actually generated was way more. It was like $100 million or like more than that. Yeah, it was crazy.
I would have been able to nerd out with him about some music stuff for sure. That would have been fun.
This will rub our old fans really the wrong way, but boy, I'd spend time with Al Davis.
Yeah?
I mean, he's such a unique character.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
he was a football coach that
Jerry
became
Jones
an owner,
too. In that
like,
sense.
Al knew
that's
the game.
true. That's true.
Al had real strong opinions on you got to hit the quarterback, you got to speed at the receiver. And times have changed, but I just like to sit around and pick his brain, football stuff and team building and that kind of stuff.
Let's see here. Dave tweets us and says, "It seems to me that Caleb Johnson is not valued much. If that's the case, would it make sense to draft their running back higher than we think, third or fourth round, and see if he can beat out Caleb Johnson?"
Maybe. I mean, if the draft falls in your lap and Jonah Coleman from Washington sitting there in the top of the fourth round and you got a lot of your other needs filled, maybe. I mean, as much as you like Warren and Dowdle, running back's a very year-to-year proposition.
Yes, it is.
And adding another young guy, you might be real happy about it like this time next year. It's like, man, Warren had a lot of injuries this year. Dowdle got older. Yeah.
We're going hunting for our quarterback. We might have the guy to pair with him for the future.
I think they draft one either way, but there's a difference between third, fourth round, and sixth round.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's get in one or two more here before we get to our final break. This is a good one from Matt. He says, kind of reference it. You and I discuss how hard it is to come into the league and excel as an off-ball linebacker, and how it feels like there's truly a shortage of elite guys at that position right now. Might just be Fred Warner, might be the only one. So Matt says, what are the needs to be an all-pro type off-ball linebacker? Is the athleticism more important? Is it the field general aspect? Thanks, guys. That's a good question by Matt there.
Well, I think so many of the first-round mistakes are on athletes. We'll just get this amazing tester that flies around the field at LSU, and I'm looking at you, Devin White. Somebody like that just makes a ton of plays. He takes 2 false steps to his right, but then he flies to his left and still tracks everybody down because he's faster and more athletic than everybody. I think above the neck is super, super important at off-the-ball linebacker and safety. I mean, if you don't have it, I think you're in huge trouble in terms of recognition, all the different route concepts people put at you, play action, motion. They just manipulate the heck out of those players and break all your rules and make you key on the wrong things, and things just happen so fast in the middle of the field.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
So I think it's that true. A lot of guys have the athleticism, but it's it's kind of same church, different pew of the quarterback conversation.
Yeah.
Like, you can have the arm, you can have the athleticism, but if you can't diagnose from the neck up at the line of scrimmage in 12 seconds, you're going to struggle.
And the Warners and the great ones have all the above.
Yes.
But I think you have to start with the brains.
The brains.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be an attribute for you and I.
No.
We'd be in trouble in that.
And there's
regard.
been a lot of mistakes because people start with the
Just give me the
skills.
Devin
right?
White's
yeah,
a great
right.
example.
Yeah, right.
One more segment to go on the other side to wrap up our bonus hour of coverage on our first day here at the NFL League meetings in Phoenix, Arizona. Matt and I will do that to put a bow on the day's proceedings when we return. Uhler, Williamson, it is The Drive, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Final segment here on our first day of coverage from the NFL Annual League Meetings, the 2026 edition. Here, of course, in Phoenix, Arizona. We're broadcasting inside the gorgeous, Biltmore here. It's a beautiful day outside, Matt. We're all excited to get back out there and soak up some sunshine.
Absolutely.
In this dry heat, right, everybody? It's a dry heat. I'm starting to learn all about that out here, and I'm picking up what everybody's putting down. I like it. We will be back, as we've mentioned, with you for Monday and Tuesday. And there will be plenty of moving and shaking happen here. Today's kind of the quiet day. It's kind of the get started
Setup day. Yeah.
We've seen a few of the Pittsburgh media, but I'd imagine there'll be a much larger contingent tomorrow.
Yeah,
of course,
a lot going on the next few days.
Of course, Chris Halicke was here and kind enough to join us for a segment. I see Jerry Dulacs on the phone over there, but it's really going to pick up tomorrow, and of course, part of that will be Mike McCarthy's lunch with the Pittsburgh media, and then on Tuesday, McCarthy, Omar Khan, and Mr. Rooney all scheduled to speak in some capacity as well. So a lot of moving and shaking that'll be happening here quickly, and we are getting to some of your tweets, some of your questions, comments, concerns, and reactions here in this bonus hour of The Drive on this bonus Sunday edition.
Yeah, bonus Sunday
of The Drive. Bridgeburner tweets us and says, what are your guys' thoughts on this? Perhaps first-round quarterbacks succeed at a much higher rate, not necessarily because of a huge talent difference with guys drafted later on in the third or fourth round, but maybe because of a huge difference in organizational patience and the level of resources devoted to their success. I think there's a balance in there, definitely.
Yes, and I think there's a lot of truth to it as well. I mean, they invested more. They like the player more than a third-round pick, a fourth-round pick, etc. Yes, I mean, there's definitely truth to that. Now, there's the consensus will have these guys as first-round picks as opposed to fourth-round picks or whatever for a reason, for physical skill set, etc. But one of my things I've harped on over the years, too, is I really wish, and I don't know how to do it, but I wish there was a minor league like hockey or baseball or whatever.
Same, that would be great.
Because I really think there would be quarterbacks that got more opportunities. I'm not saying they'd be the next Brady, but they might be the next Purdy.
They might be the next Sam Darnold.
Yeah. I mean, I'm talking about the late-round pick that just doesn't get a lot of cracks at the apple.
Someone like Will Howard.
Yeah, right. I mean, he spent the whole year, if he were healthy, in the minors maybe, playing a ton of, the Penguins have a good goalie or whatever who's playing a bunch.
That's a great point, because like all the other major sports in this country do have that.
They have.
Hockey does, basketball does, baseball does.
Right.
Even MLS and soccer does.
Go work on your curveball or whatever, right. And football doesn't have it, and I really think O-line and quarterback is where that hurts a lot. And the thing that people don't realize, which really hurts these guys, especially during the season, but even before, there aren't many reps to go around. It's not developmental time, and quarterbacks need developing. Even the first rounders get that attention. The late ones rarely do. So I'm absolutely convinced that in since 1980 or whatever, last 50 years or whatever, there's probably 30 really good quarterbacks that just didn't get enough opportunity. And it's probably true in all walks of life, but of course, but especially at that position. Just didn't get enough time on the field or enough attention,
And you understand it because that's not coaches' priorities. Their priority is to win on Sunday,
Yeah,
or else
right,
I'm going to
right,
be out of a job.
Yeah.
You only have so much time for development. Let's see. Wayne tweets us and says, thought this might be an interesting SNR discussion given the Steelers quarterback situation and you guys and your talk about building the nest. Which teams right now have the best nests? Ooh, we'd have to do a little research.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can just come up with that thought.
Honestly, I would venture to guess that most of them are the playoff teams, the better
and Rams
teams.
come to mind because you could sit behind Stafford.
Ooh, that's a great point.
Yeah, right.
That's a great point.
They really learn from a true professional
you know what, though?
Hall of Fame type guy.
I could even argue a team like the Jets because they have resources on the
Mm-hmm.
offensive line. They have a guy like Breece Hall.
Yeah.
Like they've got a weapon like Garrett Wilson. Like
you can at least see their vision for building the nest.
They're building the nest.
They may not even draft a quarterback this year, but it's going to be a softer landing spot when they do.
Yes.
If
the Cardinals hit on another offensive lineman, they could start having semblance of
receivers
a nest
and,
there. They've got some receivers. They got a tight end. Paris Johnson is a nice piece. You add another piece to that offensive line.
Yeah.
But I would think if we kind of really took the time to hash that whole thing out, it would be most of the better teams in the league.
Of course. I mean, a lot of those teams are the Chiefs and Bills that don't need one. That aren't going to be looking for a landing spot.
Sure.
But, I mean, like
but
the
that
Vikings.
Is, maybe that's something when we have more
mind.
time in the offseason that I'll revisit. Vikings is a good one.
Vikings that come to mind. That's not. McCarthy has not succeeded there, but it's not because his surroundings has just dragged him down like an anchor.
Right. Right.
Mike
tweets us. This is an interesting one. What's our thoughts on Carson Beck coming in for one of the Steelers' 30 visits? Pardon me. Is it good business to get as much intel on quarterbacks, even if you don't draft them? Is it a smoke screen to keep teams guessing about the draft plan? Also, which band or artist do you regret not seeing when you had the chance? All right, let's go with the first part there first. Carson, I think he nailed it. It's part of the process of gathering as much intel as you can, and as you've told us before, as someone who was part of these things, there's always smoke and mirrors as part of this process.
There are. I'll be honest, just like on Beck in general, if you're looking for quarterbacks that'll be drafted after Simpson, that may the next 6-7 guys, which I think he'll be one of, he'd be pretty low on my list, especially for where the Steelers sit, because I think his ceiling is a lifetime backup. Yeah, I just don't think his arm isn't very good. He has a really quick release, but he's also played a lot of football, and I think he's kind of hitting his head on the ceiling already. Like you look at Cole Payton and think, what could be?
Sure.
I kind of look at Beck and be like, I kind of see what he is, and it's fine. I think he'll be an NFL player. But I don't see any trait that blows me away other than his release, which is really snappy and quick. His other stuff's all fine, but the arm strength's pretty poor. And as you cited, I don't love him throwing some people under the bus in some of his press conferences and things like that. He might be a great young man, but, I mean, it's just that's not a good look.
Which band do you regret not seeing when you had the chance?
Pearl Jam was that team that went for a long time, and then I just saw him recently.
I was going to say
the last time they were in town.
Most of mine I've seen.
Yeah.
The first thing that came to my mind, though, was I saw Tom Petty once with my mom in 2007.
Okay.
And then he came back to Pittsburgh in like 2010 or 11, I think it was, and we thought about going again, but it was like a day or two after we had gotten back from a family vacation. So it was like we were just gone for the whole week. We're tired. The last thing I want to do is go out to a concert.
But you look at it now, it's like,
and then like a year later he passed away. So I'm like, oh man, I wish I would have gone. But I did see him once. I just wish I would have gone to see him the second time.
I mean, I can't say like Zeppelin because they never toured when I could have went. You know what I mean?
Sure, that would be your all. I mean,
that'd be
I think
one,
both of
right?
ours, both of our number one. The Bat tweets us and says, "Here are my 4 draft needs: a nosy defensive lineman with push, a ball hawking safety, a wide receiver to match up against the talent at that position in the AFC North, and an upside coachable offensive lineman."
Okay.
I like those 4.
I don't know about nose.
Is that further down on your list now?
Yeah, I just don't know that they're built that way anymore to just have this nose eating up space, push guy. I think they want length. I think they want athletes up there. I think they want position versatility. And I think this coaching staff will show that more. It wouldn't shock me if they took Dante Corleone or Big Citrus or one of those guys. But they haven't gone out of their way in recent memory to get those dudes.
Of the other ones, ball hawking safety, wide receiver, offensive lineman with upside, which of those would be the priority in your mind? Because I think those are all 3 good calls.
Safety's third.
Safety's third.
Safety's third. But they're going to draft one, I think, in the 3rd round or so.
Before day 2 ends.
Probably. I would definitely think in the top 4 rounds.
Especially if they keep all those picks.
Yeah. But Chris had good points, too. I mean, if we operate under the assumption that they really like Anderson and Cook, which I don't see any reason why they wouldn't, maybe O-line's not in as bad a shape as you think, or it's in pretty good hands right now.
And you know what? That transitions nicely to this tweet from RJ, who asks, instead of drafting maybe a potential tackle early this year, would you guys consider offering one of Broderick Jones or Dylan Cook a contract extension this offseason to offset the potential that you will need to draft one next year when you want to take your franchise quarterback? It's a good question.
Again, the Chris conversation was really good from hour 2, and we ran out of time because I had 3 or 4 things I wanted to run by him because maybe you could extend Cook and or Anderson. And that doesn't mean you have to make them top of the line, massive starter conversations, but would you consider either one extending them in camp this year before they get expensive? You know what I mean? If you're Dylan Cook, you're not going to take starting left tackle money. He hasn't made any money at all. Same with Anderson.
So you and I discussed this briefly, and I can't remember if it was the first or second hour of the show. But say that a 6 or 7 game sample size of Dylan Cook was really enough to convince him. This isn't them, I should say. Mm-hmm. This isn't just a flash in the pan. We think there's something here with this guy.
Good football player.
You give him a 2-year type bridge deal that if it works out, great, it's excellent value. If it doesn't, it doesn't anchor you down and it's not some big detriment.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you don't draft one anyway. And he has played left and right over his career too, as all those swing guys do early in their career. Maybe he's your 6th lineman. Maybe he's your swing guy, and you found a stud left tackle in the 1st or 2nd round. Or someone bumps into guard. Or there's having an extra tackle is not a problem. And,
no, it's not.
I don't think he'd be expensive at all right now for an extension.
That's honestly something
that's like what they did with Warren.
And I think
these undrafted guys.
That's smart business because if it hits, it's such a benefit. If it doesn't, it doesn't hamper you. It doesn't crush you.
No, it doesn't at all.
Joe tweets and says, love the drive. Well, thank you, Joe. We appreciate that. He says, you guys have discussed in the offseason the value sometimes in taking shots on quarterbacks who go to quarterback U for a year, sometimes in L.A. or San Francisco. Jimmy G fits that bill and is still a free agent. Would you have any interest? You know, it's funny. I think early last week, I think we got a similar tweet like that from somebody.
I think that ship sailed, though. I don't think he's a reclamation project that needed to get
I think
things
I'd rather
back.
go Kirk Cousins or Derek Carr at that.
Yeah, I think Jimmy's pretty shot. I don't see it with Jimmy.
Let's see here. A couple more before we get out of here. Josiah tweets us and says, challenge for you guys in your next mock draft. You've mentioned moving up in the 2nd round to get a guy. Can we see what that looks like on paper? We actually did do that on Friday. Remember, we traded down from 21 to 29 to pick up an extra 2nd round pick.
Yeah.
So we picked at 29, then we had 2 2nd round picks and 3 3rd round picks.
Yeah, but I think what they're asking is take your pick in the 1st round and then move up from 53.
That's what I think so, too.
Yeah, which is just really hard to do when we do these mocks live.
It is hard to do.
Because you have to, pause it and offer people trades, and it's not the real world in that capacity.
It would definitely be something I'm interested in, though.
Oh, I think I'm real interested for this team in general. That's a long gap.
Whether it's you go O-line at 21 and then trading up to 43 instead of 53 to get your wide receiver, or vice versa. You take a wide receiver in the 1st round and you trade up to 41 to grab one of those guards or Max ENH, or if somehow he's still there.
That's the thing it wouldn't surprise me at all if we break on Thursday night and be like, oh, I love their 1st round pick, Casey Concepcion or whoever it is, whoever you love, and then we get about 5 picks in on Friday's coverage and we're like, that dude's still there.
Yes.
Yeah, you got 3 3rd round picks and 2 4s. Let's make a call. Yes. Yeah, the position we didn't expect to be there is still there. Let's go. That's very possible to me.
That's why you mock all these exercises and go through all this stuff. Let's see here. I think we
definitely have the firepower to move up in round 2.
Totally.
I like moving up in round 2 better than move up in round 1. It's also cheaper.
I agree, unless there is somebody that we just like, wow, how is that guy still available?
Yeah.
But I think it's cheaper, and I think, as we've discussed many times, that's the sweet spot of this group. Let's see here. I think we've got time for one more. We got a tweet here, actually, that kind of covers this. So, mock draft here from Bridge Burner. Trading back to 30 or trading to 38 to get Maxey and Nate Shore.
After already making a first?
After making a first, and then getting Jeremy Bernard at pick 53, Ted Hurst in the third round. I'm up to that. Do you think that the offensive lineman that you like could last to 38, 40, that type of range, though? That would become then the biggest question.
You're saying without making a first-round pick. They traded out of round 1 and went all the way down to 30.
Oh, okay. I was looking at that wrong then. Sorry. But regardless, is 38, could that be a sweet spot for an offensive lineman you want, or is that
maybe more likely to get a really good receiver there?
That's
Cooper,
what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking.
What I mean? Yeah.
Deeper group.
But
then you would.
But
need
maybe
to,
one of the guards, Basantis or Pregnon or somebody like that. Tackles just don't last.
They do not.
Yeah.
They're such a valuable commodity.
And it looks like there's a lot, but they're going to go quick.
They always do. They always go quicker than we think. Today went a little bit quicker than I thought. That was a lot of fun. Thanks to Jason is here doing video duties with us. TV's still going to produce it and cut it all up and everything. But Jason is here pushing the buttons and setting everything up along with Nate and Emil. Thanks to those guys for hanging out with us today. We are just getting started. 2 more days of coverage coming at you with the bonus hour of the drive here from the annual league meetings in Arizona. That will do it for us on this Sunday. For Matt Williamson, I'm Wes Uhler. Thanks to Chris Halicke for joining us as well. Take care, everybody, and we will talk to you tomorrow. You know where to find us. It's on your 24/7 home of the black and gold, Steelers Nation Radio, on the Steelers Audio Network.